Good, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, race fans across the world, the naughty community, and YouTube. Welcome to this Saturday heats of the semi-final stages for Season 3 in the NRL. I am Floor Genius Gaming, back again to take you through all the drama and the emotions throughout the last half of these semi-final races from Division A and B, where we'll find out the fates of all the drivers across the 2 days back-to-back from both divisions. We started off with 30 drivers in Division A and 25 drivers in Division B. And after today, it'll be cut down to just 14 drivers in each division. After learning about the events from last night's semi-finals races, it's also crucial for the drivers tonight to put in the performance of their lives to secure their final spots in a week's time. Who will be celebrating in their safe passage to the finals, and who will be down and out? Well, we will find out in a couple of hours' time. Joining me through this emotional day, I'm lucky to have two awesome commentators with me to share all the insights into this important day for the drivers. The first of which was hosting yesterday's grueling and exciting races from last night's semi-final heats. So perhaps he could share with us his thoughts on Friday's action. Of course, I'm talking about Toon. Good afternoon, and how are you, sir?
Doing great, Flood. We had an amazing series of intense racing last night where you could see everyone knew it was crunch time and it was make or break for many of our world-class drivers. So I have no doubt in my mind we're in for a repeat of that in terms of the intensity of racing action ahead of us.
Awesome to have you again with me too. And sitting alongside us, I'm delighted to reintroduce our ever-present co-commentator, backing us up on all his methodical approaches and thoughts on the races, as well as anything we miss in particular with these bigger grids for this evening. Of course, I'm talking about T-Case. Welcome, and how are you, sir?
Doing great, Flawed. Doing great. Great to be back in the booth again, and good to have Toon along here with us. Oh man, last night I got to watch the entire thing from start to finish live. I was in the chat. I was on the edge of my seat, and I cannot wait to see what these races bring today.
Yeah, it was fantastic from last night, and if that was anything to go by, then we are in for something very special tonight indeed. So awesome to have you with me as well, T-Case. And before we get into tonight's races, we do need to update you on last night's results and how that affects the standings ahead of the races for today. So the drivers will have the upper hand when it comes to the info of knowing what's needed for them to stand a chance of progressing to the finals. But one thing of note, I have to say that this is not taking into account the steward inquiries pending. So looking at the Division B standings combined then, in pole position right now, it is PHG Papa with 105 points. Then we've got Purple Nurple in second position, 12 points behind on 93 points. In third position, we got Louise with 87 points. In fourth position, we have PHG Speedy Lee with 84 points. Then it's Wicco, who is in today's heat, in fifth position on 81 points. In sixth position, we've got Jay on 74 points. Then Skeletor occupies P7 with 71 points. P8 is Redneck with 70 points. In P9 is Shaunzy, who is also in today's heat. He has 68 points. In 10th position, then we've got M. Marino. He has 57 points. P11 is Beef Castle with 56 points. Then 12th position is PHG Fenrir, who is in tonight's heat with 51 points. And his teammate Dagger in P13, also in tonight's heat. He has 50 points. Then we got Throwback Cat in 14th position on 49 points, also in tonight's heat. Jay Smith is in 15th on 47 points. Then we got Angry Fredbird joint with Turtle Shell in P16 with 43 points apiece. Actually, Jack PHG SVG is also tied with the two I've just mentioned, also on 43 points. Then we got Bandit in 19th position with 37 points. Brigsby in 20th with 36 points. Bells in 21st with 31 points. PHG Horn of Plenty with 26 points. Smokes VR 6V with 21 points in P23. AVG Kurt Games in P24 on 7 points. And DVM 0 with nothing in 25th position. Toon, can you lead us on to the Division A standings, please?
I sure can. So at this current moment, sitting in P1 is GSR La Cabra 809 with an astounding 106 points, followed by in P2, Gran Turismo. Rounding out our top three is a tie between The True Serum and VTX Blind Man, both with 87 points apiece. Moving on down the order, rounding out our top five, we have GSR Shaggy Doo, followed by Talon, PHG Salamander MN, GSR I'm Mullet, Deputy Fishtail, with Boogity Boogity rounding out our top 10, followed by Corridor 71, and then a tie for P12 between S7R Slipstream and MK. Moving on down the order, we have MMR Moose 21 in P14, followed by MD Hop, Root, and a tie for P17 between Jesser and Spawn, both in tonight's series of races. Going further on down the grid, we have a tie for P19 between GLK Sneaky and Sparky, and then another tie right below them for P21 between Sugar Shuffles and Island Grown 777, with another tie for P23 with Aero US and Fernando Button with 29 points apiece, followed by VTX Ska, a tie for P26 between Hitty and Sweet Lou with 25 points apiece, followed by Raider, VTX Jake, Chief Apollo 11, Shadow Chef, and then rounding out our grid for Division A is VTX Chippy. Back to you, Flood, to take it away for the race standings for Division B.
Thank you, Toon. Yes, we can move swiftly on to tonight's proceedings with the Division B semi-final Saturday race about to get underway. So on to our first race, and we are at Mount Fuji in Japan for the visit of Fuji Speedway.
Look at that rain coming down. Oh my.
Indeed, it does.
It looks wet. It looks wet out there.
Just a bit, indeed. So explaining about Fuji then. So the track length is 2.8 miles with a total of 16 turns. There'll be a 5-minute qualifying session ahead of a 19-lap race here at the Fuji Speedway shortcut variant with a grid and full start check enabled. The circuit is famous for its Super GT heritage, but today the drivers will be using the Renault RS01 GT3 2016 Group 3 car. Under the BOP regulations, this car has a 3.7 litre engine producing 502 brake horsepower and weighs in at 1.3 tonnes. This car is very much a handling type of car with good acceleration with its 7-speed transmission, but being an MR drivetrain is heavily reliant on its rear tyres, and with tyre wear at times 11. Them rear tyres will melt very quickly and the drivers will have to be extra wary, as once the rears completely burn out, it becomes a struggle to keep the car under full control. So they will have to choose their tyre compounds wisely, as it's an open choice. Racing softs, mediums and hards are all available, with none of them being mandatory. But also, as you saw, there is rain there, and intermediates and wets are available for the driver's discretion. So choose wisely, of course. Fuel saving may be a possibility for the drivers, as with the ×5 fuel consumption, drivers won't be able to make it through the whole race on 1 tank of fuel. But we are certain that no drivers will run a no stop. That is for sure. No tuning is allowed, but they can tinker with their brake balance, and mechanical damage is set to light. Good luck to the drivers out there. This is their last chance to put forward a world-class showing to ensure their entry to the grand finale in a week's time. Over to you, Toon, for the points allocation tables and the driver lineup for Division B.
Thank you, Flawed. So, the point spread looks like this. The fastest total time overall for this race will receive 36 points, with the second fastest receiving 34 and the third fastest receiving 32, and it goes down the order from there. The points are double from their round 1 allocations, with bonus points awarded to the split winner, the runner-up, third place, and an extra bonus point for the fastest lap. Only the top 14 drivers from Division B across yesterday and today's races will move on to the finals next week. Back to you, Flawed.
Thank you, Toon. So, as we saw from the pictures there, it is looking rather wet and rainy out there. They are going to have to do 5 minutes of qualifying in these conditions, it looks like, and certainly very, very treacherous out there. We have
It is indeed. And speaking of this race, we should probably touch on the driver lineup. So for this race, we have Wicco, 54 Yizmaz, also known as Shanzi, PHG Fenrir, PHG Dagger, Throwback Cat, Angry Fredbird, Turtle Shell, Bandit, SVG Brigsby, PHG Hornet Plenty, and DVM 0X. Listed under their names, of course, are the teams they might be affiliated with or their free agency. You'll also see their YouTube and or Twitch information should it be applicable to the driver.
Thank you, Toon. I was just about to come in with that.
My apologies.
but yeah, thank you for the update there too. So that is our driver lineup for Division B. As we saw from the pictures there, yeah, it's looking rather slippery and treacherous for the drivers. So certainly they're going to have to be very careful. But I mean, Toon, what are your thoughts ahead of this race for Division B?
This is going to be an interesting one. I mean, just like last night's Division B race, there's no tire requirements, so the strategy is going to be pretty much a guessing game for a lot of the drivers, as there's no tire requirements to be mindful of. And then you also have to bear in mind they are going to be starting on wet tarmac. So these qualifying times are definitely going to be taken with a grain of salt, due to the fact that I see plenty of them are starting on the intermediates. So who knows how the pacing and racing as a whole is going to shake up for this entire race.
Indeed, and TK, so I have to say that do these sorts of conditions favour your style of driving out there? I mean, what is your experience around Fuji, and what kind of emotions do you think the drivers will be going through right now?
Well, when it comes to setting a qualifying time, absolutely not. I do not enjoy these conditions for quality time, but for racing, I think it's a lot of fun to race in the rain. It really tightens the pack up. You know, there's fewer lines to take. You got to take a little less risk going into some of these braking zones. So it's going to cause all the drivers to drive very cautiously, and it's going to reward bravery as well. You know, can you be brave enough to take maybe not the driest line and make a move? So we'll see it here in qualifying, who's willing to put their foot down and risk losing it on their hot lap. If we look too on that little meter in the bottom left-hand corner, it's about halfway up. That's the moisture meter, and typically when it gets into that middle third, that's a sign that they need intermediate tires. If it gets to that top third, they're probably going to want to put some wets on.
Yes, indeed. It's definitely one that perhaps I don't think the drivers really anticipated ahead of this race. And certainly I think a lot of the drivers probably didn't put in the wet practice as such. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the drivers get on with qualifying at least, and we'll see how long it takes for the circuit to actually dry out, and whether or not drivers will actually take a risk in terms of when they decide to go onto the slick tyres should the track dry out, of course. But we are on board with RTS Bandit at the moment. who I did a little bit of practice with. So we've got a little bit of inside information with Bandit, and I think he's done a lot of practice. So I think he's going to be quite confident going into this race. So we'll see how much confidence he has got as he takes a nice tidy line through the sort of the short end. So the normal version would have the hard braking zone into the hairpin. This one is you actually carry a little bit more speed, you bypass that section of the track, but this is certainly where the lap can fall apart through this technical end to the lap as we go around the final corner at turn 16. What sort of lap time can Bandit produce even as we go down this long back straight approaching the start finish line? So Bandit comes across the line with a 1 minute 45.7, which is bettered by Fenrir and bettered even further by Wicco, who goes onto pole position with that 1 minute 44.205. So,
you know, I've been keeping an eye on the grid as this qualifying is underway, and I thought the 147 was already a really quick time set by Bandit. But then Fenrir came in and threw his hat into the ring. Horn came in not too far behind him. And then Wicco with a staggering 144.205. My lord, this is just beginning. And I think these lap times are going to be even more insane as the race goes on. As I say that, PhD Dagger comes in and sets a 143.608. And they're all doing these on the intermediate tires, by the way. So once they get onto the racing mediums or the racing soft compounds, these times might even drop into the mid 30s for all we know. What do you think, TK?
And I think we're seeing the track drying out right now, getting into that bottom third on that moisture meter, and I think we might see somebody. Apparently we are hitting the final lap, so them switching to maybe some mediums or softs probably isn't going to happen, but they are going to be getting a bit more grip as they come through these final turns.
Yes, indeed. We're definitely going to start seeing the lap times come tumbling down. Yes, they are on their last lap, so these will be the final chances to put them in a strong position for the race. What can Wicco do? Coming in P3 at the moment, goes on to pole position, 1 minute 42.9, 3/10 ahead of Bandit in P2, Dagger in P3, Brigsby in P4 as we look on board with Horn of Plenty coming in P6 as Angry Fredbird goes quicker with a 1 minute 44.8. Can he improve on his previous best lap of a 44.999? Yes,
Whoa.
He does. 1 minute 42.9 into P2. Fantastic effort from Horn of Plenty. And this
What?
is yes,
Sorry to cut you
1,000th
off,
of a
but
second.
that is a photo finish if I've ever seen one. Division B is definitely not disappointing. And
Oh!
Dagger comes and takes pole.
Dagger saving the best to last for Dagger.
Wow.
And the last person,
Everyone's
who is the
across the
last
line.
person coming across the line, guys?
Everyone's
Goes
across the
Brigsby.
line, it seems.
And Brigsby goes quicker, but I think remains in P7 there. So that is qualifying done and dusted. Certainly what I was going about to say, guys, was with Horn of Plenty, very important for him to get a final, great result, because he currently finds himself in P22 in the championship. Of course, top 14 qualifies for the final. That will do him the world of confidence as we look on the classified qualifying results. PHG Dagger gets pole position with that 1 minute 42.604, 3/10 ahead of Wicco in P2. Then we got Horn of Plenty in P3, but that 1/1000th of a second separating Wicco and Horn of Plenty for P2 and P3 respectively. Phenomenal stuff there. Throwback Cat in P4. Then we got Bandit in P5. Turtle Shell in P6 with Brigsby in P7. Angry Fredbird in P8. And then P9 is PSG Fenrir. He will not be happy with that. Let's hope he's got a strategy up his sleeve for the race. But a very surprising qualifying too.
Oh, that definitely was. We've got another photo finish from our Saturday Division B people, 1,000th of a second. Once again, I'm really starting to think there's a trend over here for Division B. And Dagger coming in at the last moment to swoop up pole position with a grid start, false start check. I mean, that pole position is going to help, but, you know, with it being a wet circuit and, of course, you know, having cold tires from a standing start, that start's going to be quite pivotal for all of these drivers over the coming 19 laps. What do you think, TKs?
Yeah, I mean, you just watch them find the drier line as the track was running out, pushing them closer and closer. They're going to start close. Their race pace is going to be close, and I think it's going to come down to some tire strategy. Who's gonna get it right, using the right tires, making them last, and getting those quick lap times in.
Yes, indeed. Well, certainly for me, I didn't expect that qualifying. And we'll see if that shakes up a few surprise results in this final semi-final heat for Division B. I think with the weather and the nature of the high tire wear, this could prove pivotal as we await the grid start here at Fuji Speedway Short as the red lights come up. It's 3, 2, 1. Lights are out and away we go. Traction control will be on for the drivers. We'll see which driver got the best traction. It looks like Wicko got the best traction as he propels himself up into P1. He's got the inside line for turn 1, and Wicko does make his stick. Dagger goes down into P2 with Throwback Cat up to P3. Then we got Horner Plenty up into P4 and Bandit in P5 as well. So Wicko will lead the charge or even the train through turn 4 and around this long right hander. It's very, very important to keep a good solid inside line and not go too wide because of the wet conditions as we go down the hill onto the left-hander. Throwback Cat up the inside and then into P2 ahead of Dagger into P3. What a great move there from Throwback Cat as he looks to make waves through the grid at the start of this race here at Fuji Short Tune.
Yeah, the start was amazing. Everybody got a pretty solid run out. I'm following PSG Fenrir at the moment, and he's got a little train of cars right behind him. Everybody's staying really close, and I think this is definitely anybody's race to win and or anybody's race to lose at the moment. What are your thoughts from the starting lap, TKs?
It's great. Clean racing. We're seeing multiple lines. We're seeing people going too wide. There's a great battle happening for third right now between Dagger, Horn, and Bandit. Bandit just got ahead of Horn. If the rest of the race goes like this, I mean, there's going to just be nonstop action. And it's looking like the moisture's around halfway up, so it's still intermediate tires. Track is not drying out.
Well, Horner Plenty's got a great opportunity here as he uses that slipstream from Bandit and looks to go up the inside. Can he be one of the last of the late breakers? Looks like Bandit swerved over to the ins. Oh, there's a bit, brings me a little bit deep, I think, in P6, down into P7. I've just noticed Fenrir has moved up 3 positions up into P6. So GG's for Fenrir at the first, well, we're on the second lap of this 19-lap race here at Fuji Short. But Horner Plenty looking to apply that pressure to Bandit, who is challenging for that P4 position. And I have to say, very, very brave because he will be getting all the spray from the car in front. His visibility is going to be very, very poor for him. But as we go around this right-hander and into the sort of medium-speed right-hander, the bit deep on the brakes. Here's Bandit. Bandit lucky to keep all 4 wheels on the circuit. Horner Plenty does back off slightly. Luckily has a good 7/10 lead over Fenrir and is able to slot back in P5. But a nearly moment there, or a nearly big contact moment there between P4 and P5 there too.
Yeah, that was definitely really close. They are definitely showing how badly they want to move on to the finals, but they also have to be very mindful of the fact that this is a league with standards, professionalism. So I think level heads will prevail as this race progresses. But I would also like to take a quick moment to detract from this and make note that our broadcast colleagues Leo and Slomo have both made quite generous donations to the league. Leo with a $10 super chat and Slomo with the $20. So guys, thank you both so much. It's been an absolute honor and a privilege to be in the booth with both of you for this season.
Thanks, guys. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I think it's interesting. I've been flipping through here and seeing which drivers are avoiding the curbs and which aren't. I've noticed Bandit has been a little bit more brave and getting on the wet curbs, whereas Horn of Plenty has been avoiding them. And this is a track that you typically want to ride those curbs, especially in that final sector, kind of cut the corners a little bit. And with this moisture on the track, I can see some drivers just not wanting to have any part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a tale of two halves, this race, because if the weather does clear up and the start begins to evolve and become drier, then actually when the drivers do get onto the slick tyres, actually you do want to kind of keep it away from the curbs. So maybe Horner Plenty just kind of perhaps in practice just got used to not hitting the curbs there, but as we do see him hit the curb there. But yeah, certainly nice tidy racing from all the drivers so far. Wicco has a 2.4 second lead over Throwback Cat, who finds himself in an excellent P2 for him. He is 8/10 abreast of Dagger in P3s. We've got Brigsby going into the pits.
I was just about to say the moisture's going down. He needs to be careful on this pit exit because it will not be dry. But they are just now entering that phase where slicks are possible. So let's see what tires he goes on. I got it watching here while y'all continue on the race, and I'll let you know what he comes out on.
Yeah, I mean,
and he comes out on the racing softs.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, TK.
As TK's alluded to there, yeah, he has to be very careful because there are certainly parts of the track, including the entrance to the pit lane and the exit, where there are a lot of standing water there. So hopefully he will know this and get back out on circuit carefully. And we'll if you can, TKs, keep an eye on how Brigsby is doing as well, because we want to know whether or not that was a bold strategy from him, whether he came in a bit too early or maybe it was a bit of a genius move from him.
He's taking it a little easy, but it's looking good. He hasn't had any issues. He is avoiding those curbs, so he knows where the moisture is, and so far he's doing really well to keep the car going in the right direction.
I'm like, if he has made the right move, that could be the difference, because a lot of time can be made from the grip levels, of course, from the intermediate tires, where obviously they're great in the wet track, but don't have the grip when the track is dry, and the lap times can really drop off massively between the slicks and the intermediate tires on drier surfaces. So yeah, certainly we'll see whether or not that was the right move or not, but he will have to be very careful as the dry lines do start to develop. The wet side of the circuit is still very wet. The fact that the slick tires will literally just aquaplane, and there'll be absolutely no grip for him to stay on the circuit. But on board with Brigsby right now, he's looking rather good out there too so far.
He is looking pretty good. And speaking of no grip, Wicco's back left intermediate tire is already done as the circuit's drying out. So as I'm cycling through the grid, actually it's quite the common theme right now. Most of our intermediate drivers are now like completely without their back left intermediate tires. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a pit stop coming here in the next few moments as Wicco's coming around the final corner onto the start-finish straight. It's only a matter of time before we see if he's going into the pits. He's across the solid white line. So, yep, looks like Wicco has gone into the pits with Throwback Cat in tow. Dagger is staying out on his intermediates. Throwback Cat is going into the pits as well. Horn in tow as well as Fenrir. So I think everybody's starting to make their tire compound decisions as they hop off these intermediates and onto a more appropriate racing tire, one could say. What about you, TK?
Yeah,
what do you think people are going to be hopping to?
We're seeing Brigsby here, even with the time penalty, he's been putting in purple sectors, so he clearly made the right call. He got his outlap done, and then his first flying lap, due to the penalty, is not the fastest lap, but he was on track to get that fastest lap. So he seemed to have made the right call, and it looks like most drivers came out on the softs. Horn of Plenty did come out on the mediums, as well as Fenrir, and Turtle Shell came out on the hards, Bandit on the mediums, and Angry Fredbird on the softs.
Yeah, and just looking, or was looking aboard with Brigsby there, he has managed to make up about 4 positions from that early pit stop onto the slick tyres. So certainly made the right move, and now it's just a game of trying to preserve them tyres. Of course, the tyre wear is on times 11 for this race, with all 3 compounds available for the drivers to use. So it remains to be seen what type of strategy the drivers will be using, whether or not they'll just remain on the soft tyres and see how long they can last on the softs, whether or not they'll go on the mediums or the hard tyres, and it does remain to be seen how long them tyres really do last as we ride on board with Wicco, currently in P2. Dagger managing to get another lap out of the intermediates, but is that the wrong move from Dagger, because he was 12 seconds in front of Wicco. I do believe he will be in the pit lane for a considerable amount of time, so we'll have to see where he'll come out in relation to Throwback Cat, who is just coming across the start-finish line now. There's Horn of Plenty as well, there's Brigsby. Dagger just coming out now. He's going to re-enter the track in P5 with Fenrir closing by the second as well. I think he's going to hang on to that P5 for the time being, but I think that may have cost Dagger a little bit there, to be honest, too.
It may have, it definitely may have costed him a little bit of time, but I did just see Angry Fredbird and Turtle Shell go too wide into turn 1. Angry Fredbird was able to snag P8 off of Turtle Shell for the moment, and I am getting word from production. We've received a $5 super chat from the proprietor of PHG, Papa himself, for $5. Thank you so very much, Papa. Every ounce of support goes a long way, be it through donations, liking, sharing, just spending your free time watching this league, and everything in between means the world to us. Thank you all so very much for your continued support. And as I'm moving up the grid, I do see that softs were the common denominator for the tire strats, but seeing the hards was definitely interesting. And another thing that stuck out to me was when Dagger went into the pits, he completely topped off his fuel tank. So I think he may be trying to shake things up a little bit and avoid the pits for as long as possible, because when he went into the pits, he was running on 3 bald tires, Flood.
Yeah, and that is very brave of him as well, because I have driven these RSO1s, and they're very rear dependent, and once them rear tires go, that car is very, very difficult to keep control of, especially with the manner of this circuit, a very technical circuit, particularly in the last sector of the lap, where it really does eat the tyres, and it's really important to have good traction out of them corners because if you don't, then the car can go all sorts of sideways. So perhaps, yeah, Dagger, especially on the old intermediate tyres, I think he would have lost a lot of time, and it's no surprise that we see him in P5. Now, we will see if Dagger can make some moves up the grid. And certainly on the medium tyres will be staying out on track a little bit longer than the drivers that went onto the softs, including Brigsby, who finds himself in P4. He is on them soft tyres, and you'll see how quickly them rear tyres start to burn up as we're on lap 8 of 19. It does remain to be seen how many more laps he will get out of them soft tyres, but he is certainly applying the pressure to Horner Plenty, who finds himself in a very, very good P3. I alluded to at the start of the broadcast how important it was for the likes of Horner Plenty and Brigsby as well for their championship and trying to qualify for that all-important top 14 slot to qualify for the finals. But we're on board with Dagger now. He's closing that gap on Brigsby as we go on to turn 1. Brigsby takes a defensive line, a very narrow line at that as well. Dagger tries the switcheroo. He's going to be on the outside here, which actually is the racing line for this next turn, but Brigsby will hold the inside line. Dagger will have to go around the outside, but it's a beautiful line from Dagger, and Dagger up into P4. Fantastic driving from him, and we'll be looking to try and close on in on Horner Plenty as well, who currently finds himself in P3 too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as this shapes up because we're at just over the halfway mark for this race, if I'm doing the mental math right. And as this circuit has dried out, I'm keeping an eye on the lap times. We've got Wicko still sitting with the fastest at a 136.164. Personal fastest for Throwback, 137.191. Horn in the 137s. Same with Dagger, Brigsby. Everybody's pretty consistent. Bandit with a 139 fastest lap. Angry Fredbird with a casual pace of a 140.103. Turtle Shell with a 141.208. Like, no matter how you shape this, the lap times are quite close every bit of the race. And really, some of these strategies are definitely going to be the make or break factor, such as how Dagger went and topped off with fuel, as did Bandit, and I believe Turtle Shell and Fredbird too. They've all got way more fuel than their competitors at this moment, and arguably way more tire life, so that could come out to their advantage. TKs?
Yeah, this is something I've been interested in here. So only one driver put on the hards, and that's Turtle Shell. He's currently lapping, like you said, in the 141s, but he's got tires till the end of the race. He also got fuel, so I think he's planning on running this to the end after that first pit stop, whereas definitely the soft runners are most likely going to need to come in, maybe the medium runners, but I think by the end of this race, Turtle Shell is going to have the most tire life left as well as fuel.
Well, Dagger just making that move on Horner Plenty up into P3 now. So looking to start closing in on the top two. Currently 5.5 seconds adrift from Throwback Cat. TK, so I'm just going to ask you actually, so you was talking in relation to Turtle Shell. So with Turtle Shell being on the hard tyres, I would imagine he's doing a lot of short shifting with the gears. How is his fuel in relation to someone like, say, PHG Dagger, who finds himself in P3?
Their fuel is actually almost identical with Dagger. Dagger has slightly less fuel, but Dagger and Angry Fredbird and Turtle Shell all have roughly the same amount of fuel. So I think those medium runners, as long as they can make their tires last, I think they can go to the end without much issue. And now we're seeing Brigsby come back into the pits as his left rear tire is completely gone and he is low on fuel.
Well, indeed. To be honest, so I did a little bit of testing myself, guys. Now, I'm not as brave as some of these drivers. I'm certainly one that doesn't risk it on bald tyres, but in my testing, the soft tyres lasted roughly around 6 laps. The mediums roughly between 10 and 11 laps before the rears really became very difficult to drive on. Now, I'm just thinking back to when Dagger actually pitted. So him being on the medium tyres, Dagger, if I was to assume, if I was right to assume that the mediums lasted 10 laps, then if he pitted on lap six, was it?
Yeah, it was 6.
Yeah.
Then his tyres would last up to lap 16, and it's whether or not he's brave enough to keep it going to the end of the race, where he could lose some time. As we just see Wicko dive into the pits from the race lead, 14.5 seconds he had over Throwback Cat. He was on the soft tyres with 8 laps remaining. We'll see if he goes out on soft tyres again or he decides to go on the medium tyres, but he had 46% of fuel as well, so he may need a little top up on fuels. We saw also Throwback Cat going into the pits from P2 with a lot less fuel, but there you go, there's proof of the pudding there that Wicko has come out onto the track with medium tyres. I think Throwback Cat may do the same thing as well, so pretty big evidence there how difficult the car is to drive with bald tyres, and feeling like the soft tyres were not going to last him and he was going to lose way too much time. But we are on board with Fenrir at the moment. Now he is one of the racing medium runners, currently finds himself in P4. He's got just under half a tank. I think looking at the tyre degradation, I think he will probably take another pit stop and probably a little bit extra fuel as well. Maybe soft tyres, I'm not sure, but what are your thoughts too?
It's definitely hard telling. If possible, could we get that pit strategy graphic up? I want to see at this stage in the race, what are some of the likely contenders we've seen? I'm getting word from production that there is not one for this, but that is A-okay because these guys would have just blown expectations out of the water. Now, Turtle Shell is getting a little bit of ground, tons of life on that Racing Hard compound. He's got probably enough fuel to last him the rest of the race, only time will tell. But it looks like for Turtle Shell, it might just come to a point where this race is nothing but a fuel saver for him, which could net him some positions, as other drivers such as Angry Fredbird, Bandit, whose tires are looking a little worse for wear, Fenrir, and others, this could definitely be an opportunity for Turtle Shell to pounce and possibly pull an upset. But I think for more speculation on that technical nature, I'd have to, kick it over to T-Case.
I'm sorry, Toon. I was over here enamored with the different pit options going on. Because Horn just came in. I was worried about him running out of fuel. He just came in, got some fresh fuel, and put on the mediums, along with a few other drivers hopping in and getting some fresh rubber, as well as Angry Fredbird. So we'll see how this shakes up as we get closer to the end.
Well, that is why you're here, TK. So you are the eyes and ears of what myself and Toon can't see at the moment. We can only see what you guys in stream are watching right now. So very important for TK to give us all the updates across the grid. But we are currently on board with Turtle Shell at the moment. He's on them hard tyres. He is starting to progress up that field, as we alluded to. It's looking like the tyres are going to... it just picks up that half a second penalty as we speak. But it looks like his tyres are going to last till the end, and it's just up to him whether or not he can fuel save like mad and bring it home in one piece. So we'll see how he gets on as we've got Dagger and Fenrir into the pits from P2 and P3 respectively. And this is what I was saying, guys, them medium tyres, they don't last that much longer than the soft tyres. It's quite lucky that I did a bit of testing myself, guys, but it does look like that the mediums maximum you're going to get is 10 laps, but I'm glad that the drivers out here are human, because I certainly was scared to drive on ball tyres, and it does seem to be the case with many of the drivers too. So pit stops is the way forward, and certainly they don't want to be losing lap time either, as we look on board with Horn of Plenty at the moment. Now he's on fresh medium tyres, and it looks like he has got quite a bit of fuel in the tank as well, and currently 1.2 seconds adrift of Fenrir. He actually gets a better exit out of the hairpin there, and as we come down the sort of straight to turn number 10 and the Dunlop corner, that is, as we go through to the technical parts, sector 3 of Fuji Schultz. So this is where a lot of the drivers are gonna make a lot of time through the corners here. It's very important not to go too wide on the exit as well, because you can get track limit penalties as we come around the final corner, which is the Panasonic corner at turn 16. So it looks pretty much the same at the moment, 1.2 seconds between Fenrir and Horn of Plenty, but certainly Horn of Plenty in a good position with his tyres. Now looking on board with Brigsby, looks like he went back onto the soft tyres, and them soft tyres are looking a little bit worse for wear. It has to be said that that tyre degradation is going to be rather quick in the coming laps, but he is closing in on Turtle Shell, and you can see the difference visibly between the soft runners and the hard runners, how much grip or how much extra grip the racing soft tyres have got over the hard runners. But certainly it's the long game for Turtle Shell, and is pretty much the here and now for Brigsby as he looks to close on in on Turtle Shell for that P6 too.
Oh yeah, Brigsby is definitely starting to gain quite a bit of time and letting Turtle Shell know, hey, I'm here. You might want to do something about that. And I'm also noticing that as I cycle through the grid, the medium runners and the soft runners are actually staying sort of close to each other. The only discrepancy in all of that is Wicco, who's currently 21 seconds in the lead, also has the current fastest lap with a 1:36.024. And other than that, it's just been pretty close. And speaking of close, we've got a nice little side-by-side action here between Turtle Shell and Brigsby. So, and these next couple corners are prime opportunities for an overtake. Somebody can do a cutback. It all depends. What do you think, Flawed?
Well, he's just going up the inside now, Brigsby, as Horn of Plenty, Turtle Shell left the door open for him. Brigsby, I thought, was being a little bit cautious going through there, but good sportsmanship nevertheless, and he will be able to use that slipstream and pull him up the straight and past Turtle Shell as we come across the start-finish line to start lap 16 of 19. So Brigsby up into P6 and making good progress up the grid. We'll see what happens as Brigsby late on the brakes there. Turtle Shell on the outside though, sticking it on the outside and not making it easy for Brigsby. Turtle Shell actually has got the inside line, so technically a switcheroo here for Turtle Shell as he holds on to that P6 from Brigsby. Fantastic driving from the pair of them, but good battling there from Turtle Shell, not giving up on that P6. What I will say though is I saw Bandit in the background as well. Because of all that battling, slowing each other down, that does give the perfect opportunity for Bandit. And again, in that scenario as well, where Bandit really needs the result here to claim that top 14 position. Certainly with the last sort of 3 or 4 laps to go in this final race in the semi-finals, the nerves could kick in, and perhaps a few mistakes may happen or not, as I say, as the nerves do kick in. But what are your thoughts, too?
Honestly, what I'm seeing between Turtle Shell and Brigsby right now has been a masterclass in defensive driving. And then with Turtle Shell Bandit throwing his hat into the ring, turning this into a three-way bout for P6. This is definitely just showing that the racing that you see here in the NRL is just top class. It's a world beyond what you see in your regular daily races. As we've got Turtle Shell and Bandit pretty much too wide coming into turn one, and I honestly could not choreograph a better race if I tried. What do you think, TK?
Up the inside, sorry.
Oh my goodness!
Back off,
Oh my goodness!
Yes, I was just about to say it was a great switcheroo from Bandit as he propelled himself past Brigsby, but then got the too wide going into turn one, and initially got the move done into P6, and then just got too much curb, lost the traction of the car, and then lost 2 positions in one corner. So we'll have to come fighting back, but certainly in the last 2.5 laps here, certainly 3 cars battling for that P6 to be looked back on board with the replay. So there is Turtle Shell on the outside, Bandit on the inside, and then Brigsby just in front. Looked like Brigsby got very early on the brakes, a little bit too much, and Bandit tried to make evasive action there and got too much of the curb and lost control of the car, and unfortunately lost that progress he made in their there's contact between Bandit and Brigsby there into that hairpin, and I think there will be a steward's inquiry, even though Bandit has given that position back to Brigsby. Oh, Brigsby! Sideways into the barrier there, and
he's got no grip on the back left. He's got
We're gonna need a replay from both of those.
We are definitely gonna need a replay for that.
That was amazing. And there, here it is.
Here it is now.
Oh man!
As TK's alluded to, nothing on the rear panel or left-hand panel of the tyre of Brigsby, and unfortunately, it was only going to end in one way, and that was into the barrier. 10-second penalty as he goes into the pits, and I think that is his championship over with. I think, guys.
That's so hard to do when you have no grip like that and you're under that much pressure. All you're thinking about is I have to get out ahead of these other drivers, and you kind of forget that you've got to be gentle on the throttle right there. And you know it happens to the best of us. You get on the gas, you're eager to get onto the straight, and then the next thing you know, you're facing the wrong direction.
Indeed, as we look on board towards the top then, Throwback Cat's got very close to Fenrir. Fenrir's left the door open. Throwback Cat thought about it for the time being, thought better of it because he's got to have that slipstream down the back straight as we come across the start-finish line. Horn of Plenty not too far behind as well in P5, so certainly could be a three-way battle for the last podium step. P3 that is, as we come across the start-finish line to start the final lap of this Division B semi-final here at Fuji Short. Fenrir for the time being holds on to that P3 with a Throwback Cat not too far behind, and actually Horn of Plenty did think about making the move on Throwback Cats, but maybe there's a little bit of strategy going on for the time being, but certainly between the trio there is literally a second between them, and anything can happen in these closing stages. Throwback Cat, contact with Fenrir, and up goes Horn of Plenty, takes advantage of that situation and up into P3, but a little bit of a messy moment between Fenrir and in particular Throwback Cat, who took a very narrow line into the corner as we go on board the Wicco, because he is about to come across the line to win the semi-final of the Division B and his 4th win in a row. Absolute dominant display and fantastic showing for Wicco. Congratulations for him, as PHG Dagger will get a very satisfactory P2 for him.
Throwback Cat's going back at it with Fenrir. They just made contact again coming out of the final corner.
Well, Horner Plenty, he's going to get P3 as well, but as TK's just alluded to, Fenrir just in front of Throwback Cat on P5. He's going to be neck and neck as we come across the start-finish line. They're both weaving as well, and oh my God, that was close, but Fenrir gets in front of Throwback Cat to finish in P4, and Throwback Cat in P5. A little bit controversial there, I think, but that is not for me to decide, as we're on board with Bandit. Turtleshell will get P6 ahead of Bandit in P7. It remains to be seen whether or not that is good enough for his last 14 position for the finals, with Angry Fredbird. He will come across the line in P8. Brigsby, a whole lap down, finishes in P9. But what a race that was, guys. I have lost my voice yet again, and I don't know what to say about that. Before I get your thoughts, guys, I will run you through the results from Division B. But Wicko with the victory there. Congratulations to him. So, classified results for Division B semi-final Saturday. Wicko gets the win, of course, and doesn't get the fastest lap though, because PHG Dagger, who came home in P2, grabs the fastest lap with a 1 minute 35.4. Fantastic from Dagger. P3 eventually went to Horn of Plenty, the PHG driver, of course, ahead of his teammate Fenrir, who almost a photo finish with himself and Throwback Cat, as there was all kinds of weaving going on down the back straight. And I know TKs as well, you alluded to that we didn't actually see on screen, a bit of commotion in the final corners of that last lap. Can you just quickly explain exactly what happened there, though?
Yeah, so what I saw was Throwback Cat giving one last desperate dive up the middle. Fenrir was pretty much on the apex in that final turn, and Throwback Cat just put their car in between them and the grass and caused some more contact, which I think got Fenrir a little worse exit going onto the straight, which allowed Throwback Cat to kind of bring the fight to them. As far as that weaving goes at the end, I don't know what we need to do about that, but we'll let the stewards decide, and they'll need to definitely take a good hard look at that last lap with multiple bits of contact there.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I mean, obviously, as myself, commentator, without seeing the action, I can't really comment on it, and obviously TK's got to see it, but obviously, yeah, that is something for the stewards to definitely look at very, very closely. But yeah, Fenrir for now, P4, Throwback Cat in P5. Then we had Turtleshell in P6 with Bandit in P7. Angry Fredbird gets P8. Unfortunately for Brigsby, had that hairy moment where it looked like he wrestled his way for P6, ends up in P9. It could well be that that is the end of his championship, but we will find out in the meantime very, very shortly. But just final thoughts, really, guys, for the race, and then we'll be on to the top 3 interviews, of course. So, Toon, what was your thoughts on the race?
It was definitely an unexpected race from start to finish, with the rain adding a monumental amount of unpredictability for our drivers, and then seeing just a variety of pit strategies. And honestly, Turtleshell's pit strategy was by far and away the most unique one that I saw from the drivers, just going on the hards and then only having a concern about fuel, and netting himself a pretty solid P6 for his efforts. That was very interesting to see. And it was also really cool to see different drivers on alternating sets of compounds. So soft runners having the medium runners right up on their tail and everything. This race was close. There was intense action. It did look like some of the drivers did get a teensy bit of tunnel vision, but that's not our area to pass judgment, of course. That is the stewards. And it was an amazing start to the race. Definitely on par with what we saw in yesterday's Division B semifinal. What do you think, TKs?
Yeah, there was multiple strategies. Really, only two different ones, and that was either whether you're doing medium soft or soft soft. Other than Turtle Shell, who was the outlier there, I thought it was interesting. Most of the drivers ended up finishing where they started. Only I'm looking here, one, two, believe four drivers ended up in a different spot than they started. Everybody else, while they moved up and back and all over the place, ended up finishing where they qualified. So that's another thing that shows the different strategies, how they pan out. You never know where anybody's going to finish till the very end, and you see if the strategies allowed them to move up or just allowed them not to lose out.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. But now it's time we move on to the interviews, and we will start with our Saturday Division B semifinal winner in Wicco. Wicco, how are you doing, sir?
Excellent, sir. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. That was an amazing race that we saw from you. A dominant showing, might I add. So, my first question is, we had the extended break between round 3 and this week. How much of it was spent just solely practicing different pit strategies and trying to fine tune your race pace?
So, I mean, there was a lot of people hosting lobbies, especially Viking. But there was a lot of different strategies, but none of them really matched up to what we had today. So finally, when we got a peek to what McNaughty was doing, there was definitely a different weather strategy. So it was either all rain for us or very short rain and then all sun. So it was a little bit different.
All right, I see. Glad to see that you were able to at least prepare yourself in a event of it being a nonstop rain race. The qualifying being on primarily an entirely wet track from start to finish, and then having several laps with rain on there and it being quite greasy. Definitely goes to show, even running the full rain practice lobbies definitely paid its dividends. Flawed, any questions?
I do indeed. Thank you, Tony. So, Wicco, congratulations on the race win for the semi-finals. I believe that is fourth in a row, isn't it, Wicco?
I think it is. I think the
So-
second one's questionable, of course, but you know.
So 100% record for you then, Wicco. I mean, it looked like a very dominant display from you, no problems. Although I have to ask you, though, was you actually surprised in not qualifying on pole position today, though?
No, not at all. I mean, there's always traffic in the way when I qualify for some reason. And if I wait till the end, I'm always worried I'm not going to get a lap in. So whoever was in the back was going to get pole. So I know Dagger was pretty quick. Even Viking, I mean, whoever was last was going to take that pole.
Did you think also that the rain had a part to play in that as well? I mean, I'm guessing you wasn't expecting qualifying to actually have rain in.
Coming into the race, no, but I mean, we practiced for it all week. Well, actually 2 weeks. But it is sort of the equalizer because you can only be so fast.
Okay, and yeah, lastly, really, I just wanted to ask because it seemed like the tire wear was really extreme, and like, did it surprise you how extreme it was? I know that obviously you put in a lot of practice, so did your practice, say your optimal practice strat, did that match what you did in the race, or did you change things up according to what happened in the race?
So the practice definitely helped because once the tires were gone, I mean, if you weren't practicing with that, you're kind of screwed. But the car handled fine with dead tires. But I mean, if you have people behind you, they're going to catch you no matter what.
Okay. Actually, I have got one other question, but I don't expect you to fully answer it. but obviously, we know that you have secured your position into the grand finale next week. So, watching the drivers from Division B in Fridays, anyone you're fearing coming into the final? Are you confident on being champion for season 3?
Oh, I'm definitely not confident, but I mean, Papa's always fast. You have your purple nurples, Speedy Lee. I mean, it could be anybody. Um, it looks like the Friday night is a little bit more even. But yeah, definitely not confident.
Good answer, to be fair, but I knew you weren't going to say it with a straight face. But no, honestly, a fantastic performance from you today. Well deserved. TK, have you got any questions for the race winner?
Yeah, Wicco, congratulations, man. That was an amazing performance. Moving up one position to take the win. I'm curious with the pit strategies. I know you guys practice a whole bunch of different stuff. Were you aware of when Brigsby went in on lap 3 to put the softs on? Is that something that you saw happen, or were you just already planning to pit on lap 5 for the softs?
So I definitely saw him pit. I thought it was way too early. So it must have been a rough go for him. But as soon as my tires were dead and the track was already drying, so I knew as soon as that was going to happen, I was going to change my tires either way. And then I realized that we weren't going to make it to the end of the race fuel saving, so it just went for it.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense, and it's good to adjust that on the fly. And then as far as switching to the mediums there on lap 11, we saw some people kind of make the softs work till the end on a third pit stop. But did you have any thought of switching to the softs, or were you pretty set on switching to the mediums?
So it was the last minute decision. So I was on softs initially after intermediates, but I knew that mediums I could throw like a 136, 137 pretty consistently, and then they would last a few more laps than the soft. But of course, they were dead at the end.
Very smart. Well, it paid off. You did a great job, man. Congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Keep a good job. You guys are doing great.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That
Thank you,
means
Wicco.
congratulations, and you go celebrate a hard-earned victory. That was fantastic. Now making our way on down the order to our P2 recipient for this afternoon. It is PHG Dagger. Dagger, how you feeling, sir?
Oh man, can you guys hear me?
Sure can.
Indeed.
Great. Oh, wonderful. This is very unexpected. I was not expecting. I was hoping to finish top 5. I was not expecting even to even get pole from Wicco. So congrats, Wicco. You're the man. This is surprising to say the least.
Completely understandable. It seems the Division B semifinals have been full of surprises on both days. Yesterday was Shaggy, today with you. It's been great to see regardless. So I saw that you kept running on intermediates for an extra lap, and when you went and pitted at the end of lap 6, you were running on only one good tire. Did you practice like pushing the intermediates till you couldn't anymore, or was it one of those you were playing by ear moments?
I did. My plan was, well, in practice, the rain was lasting past lap 6 to 7, and sometimes even up to lap 10. So my plan was to run intermediates up till lap 9 to 10 and pit then. But the rain dried up earlier than expected. I was trying to stretch it as far as I could. So I wanted to take it another lap or two, but I didn't want to risk it because I saw a throwback cat behind me, and I knew if I pitted, that I would lose quite a bit of ground. So I figured I'd run the intermediates another lap and then go to mediums.
Well, it definitely worked out in your favor, and it was a fine showing by you regardless. Flawed, over to you.
Thank you, too. And congratulations, Dagger, on P2.
Thank you.
Well deserved, I have to say, especially because you got a pole position in qualifying as well. Did that surprise you in any way?
Actually, no. I practice trying to be fast in the wet. I spent in my own practice, I would set up rain for the entire race and just run laps in the rain. So
Okay.
I was expecting either Wicco or myself would be pole, but definitely I was expecting to be P3, P1 to P3 was my expectation.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, certainly it was a phenomenal lap that you put in. I was going to ask as well, actually. So, so you said you wasn't really expecting, P2. You was sort of, top 5.
Right.
And obviously, I know it's with the grid. There's a lot of PHG drivers. Do you share your strategies, especially teammates in the same race, or how did the race actually compare to perhaps what you might have done in practice?
Totally different. Totally different.
Okay.
Viking, Wicco, Brigsby, Horn. A lot of us we practice together and we share strategies, either through Viking stream or when we get in the lobby. So what we practiced today, like Wicco mentioned, what we practiced today was nothing. I mean, what we ran today was nothing like practice. It dried up earlier than expected, and that kind of threw. I was really planning to do a one stopper.
Right.
That was
Okay.
my plan, and it ended up turning into a three stopper. I saw the
Mm.
opportunity to switch to softs the last 6 laps, I think it was, and I figured if I could definitely run softs for the 6 laps without them degrading too much. So I figured that would give me the opportunity to uh, not catch Wicco, but to stay ahead of the pack.
So consolidate the P2. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Completely understandable. I mean, to be honest, I did a little bit of testing myself prior to the race because I was very intrigued to find out how long the tires lasted.
Right.
How tricky was the car to drive once the tire degradation got 100% full on the rear tires?
Not bad, actually. As long as I modulate throttle in the corner exit, I would be fine. I would turn in certain the last corner and going into the first corner, I would
Yeah.
bump up traction control 1 notch just to give me a little bit of assurance that I wouldn't spin out, and then modulate my exit. But the car was balanced. I would when my tires degraded, I would switch to neutral balance, brake balance, and that kind of helped balance the car a little bit.
That's interesting. I never actually considered that, but that is why you guys are, the world class drivers that you are. So fantastic. P2 for you, Dagger.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And TK, have you got any questions for our second place finisher?
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Congratulations, Dagger. That was fantastic. And I just want to kind of piggyback off what you just said. I don't know many people who make adjustments on the fly like that in a race. I mean, you see it a lot in Formula One and other racing series where they have a million different options on their steering wheels and stuff. So, were at some points you were running no traction control, or did you have it on at all times and you were just going up at certain turns?
There was times I ran no traction control. The
Okay.
highest I would turn it was 2. In quali, uh, I bumped it up in the initial lap of quali. That lap I bumped it up to 3. And then once the track dried out a little bit, I bumped it down to 2. And then once the track totally started drying out, I ran no traction control.
Oh, wow, that's really interesting. Great strategy, man. That's fantastic and good adjustments on the fly
Thank
as
you.
far as, you wanting to make those mediums last and realizing you couldn't and switching to the softs. Yeah, you did a great job. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm gonna send a shout out to Naughty. You guys, you're running a great league, and of course, you guys, the commentators and the production staff, you guys doing a bang up job.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dagger.
You're welcome.
Well, you go and celebrate a well-deserved P2, and can't wait to see what you think of the reveal for the finals coming up after the next race.
I can
Thanks for
imagine.
your time, Dagger.
Thank you.
Alrighty,
Wow.
everybody. Oh, sorry, were you gonna say something, TK?
Oh, no, I was just I'm just marveling at that race. It was really exciting, especially that battle for third between Throwback Cat, Fenrir, and Horn. I mean, that was fantastic. I love to see that coming down to the wire, swapping positions, and honestly, just not knowing who's going to cross the line first.
Oh, I
Yeah.
agree completely. Go ahead, Flood.
Well, I was just about to say, I fully agree with what TK has said there. I mean, that was a fantastic end. I mean, that kind of halted what I normally do in terms of congratulating all the front runners because obviously the battle between the three drivers there was really intense and. Certainly, I'm going to be watching back on the highlights to see exactly what happened because in real time, probably didn't fully appreciate what we just witnessed there. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to say, really. So,
Fair enough. But enough of the being mesmerized. It's time we have a brief interlude while the production team calculate the points and get the next race set up, which will be Division A. So sit back, relax, enjoy beverage, and we'll be back very soon. Welcome back, everyone, to the NRL Season 3 semifinals eliminations, and what a fantastic race we just witnessed. Hopefully you're all refreshed and ready because we have an exciting last semifinal race for Division A. But before we get into the Division A semifinal race, we need to take a look at the provisional standings for Division B, and potentially who is qualified for the finals pending steward inquiries. So over to you, Flawed.
Thank you, so yes, on to the provisional standings. As we said, pending any stewards' inquiries, this is how it looks for the time being. We're going to start from the back. So in 25th position, we've got DVM 0, who has 0 points. 24th, we've got AVG Kurt Games on 7 points. Then we've got Smokes VR 6V in 23rd with 21 points. Bells occupies P22 with 31 points. Jack PHG SVG 15 has 21st position with 43 points. Then we've got Jay Smith in the top 20 with 47 points. SVG Brigsby is in 18th position with 56 points. Now, of course, the top 14 qualify for the final. So this is how it looks then. So Wicco is leading the poll at the moment in first position with 122 points, 17 points ahead of PHG Papa, who occupies P2 with 105 points. Then in P3, it's Purple Nurple with 93 points. PHG Dagger up into P4 with 88 points, 1 point ahead of Louise in P5 with 87 points. In P6, we've got PHG Speedy Lee with 84 points, ahead of his teammate PHG Fenrir in P7 with 81 points. Then P8 is Throwback Cat with 77 points. Jay is P9 with 74 points. In the top 10 is Skeletor with 71 points, which is 1 point ahead of Redneck in P11 on 70 points. Also 1 point ahead of Turtle Shell, who is in P12 with 69 points. 1 point ahead of Shawnzy, who didn't race today, occupies P13 with 68 points, who is in front of Angry Fredbird. He gets that all-important top 14 position, at least provisionally, but we won't find out until maybe a couple of days once all the stewards' inquiries are all cleared up. So still a chance for the likes of Bandit in P15 with 61 points, Horn of Plenty with 59 points in P16, M Marino in P17 with 57 points, and Beef Castle P18 with 56 points. So, with all the Division B completed for now, it's now time for the Division A last semi-final race for Season 3. So we are heading to Germany for the world famous home of the Nürburgring to draw a conclusion to Division A in tonight's semi-final race. We are at the Nürburgring 24-hour layout circuit with a track length of 15.7 miles and a total of 166 turns. Yes, you have heard this right. There will be an extended 20-minute qualifying ahead of a 4-lap race. This is to ensure the drivers get the opportunity to have at least one hot lap, as time taken to do one lap is over 8 minutes. In the Ferrari 458 Italia GT3 2013 Group 3 car with a grid and full start check enabled. Under the BOP regulations, this Ferrari 458 has a 4.4 litre engine producing 482 brake horsepower with 1.3 tonnes of weight. With this car being an MR drivetrain, the weight transfer is heavily construed to the rear, giving it supreme rotation into the corners. However, drivers will need to balance it out with the tyre choices they make, as all the racing compounds are available to them. That is the soft, medium and hards, but with the tyre wear at times 9 and a very long lap at that as well. Once the rear tyres have excessive degradation added to them, the car becomes very tricky and problematic on traction and stability. Add to that, it is heavily rumoured there could be rain on the horizon too, and that is where the green hell really picks up its dark reputation. However, intermediate and wets are also available to them, but the timing of the changing to the wets or the slick tyres will be key, as if the track dries, going back onto them slicks as well could be key as well. This certainly adds to the unpredictability of this race, where no one is certain of victory. Also add to that the times for fuel consumption rate, with strategies could be aplenty, as either huge fuel saving will be required or refueling will be needed to complete the full race distance. Also, with this being a Division A race, heavy mechanical damage is applied and really could turn the race on its head, depending on when or if a driver has a moment within this 15.7 mile a lap circuit. Will this be a green hell for the drivers or the green heaven? We will find out very shortly, as they bid their final chance to claim a top 14 spot and book their place to the grand finale. On to Toon for the points, allocation tables and drivers participating in Division A Saturday semi-final.
Thank you, Flawed. So the point spread is as such. The fastest total time for this race will receive a whopping 36 points, followed by the second fastest receiving 34 points, the third fastest receiving 32, and it chipping on down the grid from there. The points are again doubled from what they were in round one, so this is definitely going to be a make or break time for these drivers to clutch one of those coveted 14 spots. And there's also going to be bonuses for the split winner, the runner-up, the third place recipient, and an extra bonus point for fastest lap. And again, only the top 14 drivers from Division A as a whole, so from yesterday and today, will move on to the finals. And speaking of our Division A drivers, let's take a look at what those drivers will be for this afternoon. We have PHG Salamander MN, we have GSR I'm Mullet, followed by S7R Slipstream, MMR Moose 21, MD Hop 2, Spawn, GLK Sneaky, Jesser, Island Grown 777, Aero US, VTX Ska, Hitty, VTX Jake, and Shadow Chef. Listed under their names, of course, are their team affiliations or their free agency, followed by their YouTube and or Twitch information, should it be applicable to them. Back to you, Flawed.
Thank you, Toon. Well, it's quite ominous for the drivers. I can't even speak. But it did look like from that screenshot there was rain. But actually now I'm just looking on board as the drivers are out in force on their out lap. Of course, it's 8 minutes or so for a lap around here. So the drivers, knowing that the tyre wear is pretty excessive, will probably not be pushing too hard on the outlap to try and conserve the tyres. For the drivers who just see Island Grown go a little bit sideways out of that corner there, but just looking at his details at the moment, he is P21, so certainly this will be so important for him, not only to grab a good start in qualifying, but also to secure the best position possible to accumulate the most points he needs to grab that top 14 position. But yeah, certainly the Canadian driver having a little bit of a moment there as he closes in on Salamander. There is his Canadian compatriot in GLK Sneaky, and you can see he's really taking it easy on this outlap. But a bit of information for Sneaky: he is part of the Hawco Racing Academy. He currently finds himself in P19, so he's really on the cusp of qualifying for the last 14, the final that is. So again, this is going to be so important for him ahead of this semi-final race. So we'll see what Sneaky can do, but certainly a man on his day, very capable. So really look forward to seeing what he can do. But Toon, what is your thoughts on this race? Have you got any experience on here, and how do you think it's going to go?
Well, I despise this track with a fiery passion. I agree with a James May that the Nürburgring ruins cars that are developed on it. But as we see the weather turn a little misty, it's going to be quite tense for all of our drivers. This circuit's just shy of 16 miles, 166 turns. It's anybody's game. A mistake here can be extremely costly to any of the drivers, especially because we do have that heavy damage on. But I think a person with more practical experience on this track would be TK. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Toon. I mean, you nailed it right there with the heavy damage being on. If you notice, the walls are not very far from the track, and these curbs are big, beefy curbs that can easily unsettle the car if you don't hit them just right. Now, you do want to use as much curb as possible on this track because it is so narrow. You need to expand the track to use all of it to get the best exit out of these turns. But with the walls as close as they are, and then it just being very slick grass on the edge of the race surface, that heavy damage is going to come into huge play. And also this particular layout has part of the GP, the Grand Prix circuit on it, which they do Formula One and other racing on, and that is a real tire eater as well, because you really got to push hard through that section where there's tight hairpins and long straights. So we'll see a lot of tire wear through there, and then we're going to have to see how well they can handle it as they make it around this huge circuit.
Yes, indeed. I have to say though, guys, I absolutely love this circuit. This is actually my favourite on the calendar. It certainly has everything. It certainly has a lot of corners as well, doesn't it? But I feel like it kind of offers you a little bit of everything. It is obviously a track that you need big balls for, I think is the correct saying. It's certainly very narrow, but it certainly has some long straights, so good overtaking opportunities, but also through certain sections, particularly where they are at the moment. This is kind of where they need to be a little bit more patient and kind of await their opportunity for manoeuvres, certainly. I'm expecting big things from a lot of these drivers as we're on board with Moose at the moment. Moose, I know, is pretty strong around here as he's just finishing his outlap now. A little bit of information on Moose. He has his own racing team. He is head of Moose Mafia Racing. Currently finds himself on the brink of qualification for the final. Currently in P14 on 51 points. Can catch him on Twitch as well. Moose __21 as he starts his hot lap. And probably will be the only hot lap as well in this qualifying session. Very, very important to start the lap in great fashion, really, particularly this Grand Prix circuit that TK was alluding to. Certainly this part is, I would say, is a very, very good platform to start pushing ahead of the more trickier part of the Nordschleife. But certainly Moose looking for big things ahead of this race as we look on board with S7R Slipstream, the New Zealand driver, the Kiwi driver, who currently finds himself in P12. Now we know he's a very capable driver. He has won, I believe, at least one race. In fact, I've been told it's 2 races he's won. He's missed 1 race. So actually he does occupy 100% record, so we know how capable this driver is, but through him actually missing that race, finds himself in P12 for the Division A overall standings with 52 points. I would imagine he's on YouTube right now. You can find him on @Slipstreaming Racing. Expecting really big things from him, and certainly if he can grab a great result today, surely he will secure that top 14 spot for the final. But looking rather tidy through the first technical stage of Nordschleife, and certainly. I mean, I'm a big fan of this first part of the circuit. It's got good flow to the corners ahead of quite a long straight, and certainly there'll be a big dynamic should we get rain on the circuit where it's completely flat out through this stage of the course. In the wets, it could be very, very different, of course, and it'll be very interesting to see how the drivers get on with it should we get rain in this race, of course. But yeah, Toon, looking at the drivers out there, they're looking pretty supreme in confidence, right?
Oh yeah, it looks like everybody's starting to find a bit of a rhythm, starting to get a little comfortable with the cloudy conditions. Doesn't seem to be any moisture on the horizon, at least that I can see so far. But yeah, it looks like everybody's fanned out a little bit to give each other room. They've only got pretty much this one lap, so they have to make it count. But I also would like to remind you, yesterday you were doing some lobby races on this circuit as well. So if you were in the shoes of these drivers, what would be some of the things you would focus on first and foremost?
Well, first and foremost, I would say just keep it on the track. You know, I would always say it's not always about how much speed you get through the corners. It's almost about just focusing on your driver lines. And the nature of this circuit is a lot of the circuit. There's one corner followed up by another corner, so there's almost like a link of like 3 or 4 corners in a row, so it's almost like you're predicting ahead of you the sort of line that you want to take through the corners. So it's not all about just focusing on the first corner, but actually you're probably thinking of how am I going to take the line into the third corner and the fourth corner to get the most speed out of the exit. So there's a lot of thoughts that go into here, but I have done thousands of laps around this particular circuit. One thing I will say though, when I was doing them open lobbies yesterday, I did put the rain on, and even I found it very tricky, and I made mistakes as well. So you know, it does catch out even the best of drivers. So certainly could be full of drama in this final semi-final race. But yeah, TKs, what is your thoughts of this racetrack as we just see another element to this race as well of course it's getting dark, so visibility not the greatest out there either.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are your thoughts on this circuit?
Well, as you guys were talking, I was watching, and Island Grown just had a string of incidents where you're talking about the importance of staying on the track and linking up each turn and thinking about the corner, 3 corners ahead. Island went off, ran into some traffic, so I think he may have slowed down a few other drivers as well as himself, because this track is so narrow. If you have an incident and there's somebody nearby, odds are it's going to affect their lap as well.
Yes, indeed. And they've got a lot of factors to consider here. As I was alluding to, a lot of the drivers would have taken their outlap really slowly and not try to generate too much heat. This is actually my favourite part of the circuit. I love the flow and the rhythm of these consecutive corners here, as we was on board with Slipstream there. But yeah, it is. So the tyre wear is pretty extreme, and because of the nature of this Ferrari MR car, the mid-engine rear-wheel drive car.
Sorry to cut you off, Vlad. Island had a bit of an incident, hit the wall, and has slowed down himself, mullet, and it looked like somebody was able to just creep on by. But yeah, it's going to show that the darkness is going to play a huge factor here as we jump on board to the replay.
He's got heavy damage up on the front.
Well, indeed,
no,
yeah, there's the contact. There is the contact straight into the wall. And yeah, this is a big factor in qualifying as well. So I noticed that Mullet got slightly hampered by Island Grown there. Obviously, it's a very narrow circuit, so making passes on the technical.
Oh, and MD Hop actually spun off as well. I'm sorry to cut you off, Vlad. It looks like everything's going wrong right now, as MD Hop and Island Grown were too wide coming through a corner as well. This is getting a little dangerous for our drivers.
Well, just to finish off my point as we look on the replay here, so you know it was quite important to. Oh yeah, he does spin there, and luckily Mullet didn't get caught up in it actually. So quite fortuitous there, but yeah, certainly my point with Mullet. I know he's a very fast driver at the best of times. I know that he particularly loves this circuit. And that would have hampered his qualifying lap there, going through the traffic and trying to go around the cars that had, just slid off, particularly with the narrow nature of the circuit. So we'll see what sort of time he can produce as we look on board with Slipstream. He's just coming down the final embers of this lap. It looks like he got a nice clean run through. No mistakes as he comes across the line now. It is looking around the 8-minute 20 mark. It's 8-minute 19.821, so very solid start there for Slipstream on pole position right now. Can Moose better it? Not quite. 8-minute 19.9, not even a tenth between them, between the top two there. Then we've got Island Grown. I don't know if Island, no, well, it says the next driver will be Salamander, sorry guys. So Salamander will be the next one to come across the line. We'll see how he got on. It's very difficult to know how the drivers have really got on. Salamander, it's looking like he's not going to beat it actually. He's just going up the hill through this slightly technical part. There's a right-hander and a left-hander here before the home straight onto the GP circuit. So we're already surpassed the 8-minute 20 mark. So his time will be an 8-minute 26.6 for him, company P3 at the moment. There's Sneaky across the line, 8-minute 22 for him, 8-minute 30 for Jezza, so Sneaky up into P3, Jezza P5, Salamander at the moment P4, but we'll see how this affected Mullet. 8-minute 24.4, so Mullet will start from P4. Big shock on the cards there as we got Spawn as well. Spawn must have got caught up in the traffic there because he will start in a lowly P7 for him. With Island Grown now just approaching the GP circuit now. And he has got, well, you can already see, guys, it's been a messy quality session for him. He's already over the 9-minute mark. He's going to get a 9-minute 24.6. And be in P9. It looks like he may even start from P10 because here is Arrow just coming onto the GP circuit now, and he is under a 9 minutes. So he will grab a 8-minute 40.7. He will start from P9. I don't think they've got enough time to put in the extra lap. Yeah, because it's 8. Yeah. Not enough of a countdown for them to get the extra lap in, so it is just one lap for the drivers. What is quite an eye-opener actually. We already see the drivers selecting their tyres for the races. The race starts falling down.
Boy.
Violently.
Yes, indeed. So this is which I alluded to. Anything can happen at the Green Hell, it's almost famous for having 4 seasons in one day at a place like Nürburgring with the high altitude in the hills, in the German hills, should I say. We could definitely expect a little bit of rain. Hopefully it's not going to catch out the drivers. I guess we will see when they start the race here in the final semi-final race for Division A. 4 laps, remember, 4 laps is a long time around this particular circuit and this particular variant. Yeah, you can see the rate going down. They'll be hoping it doesn't start off like that, and hope that they get a dry run and get to think about their race in general. But it remains to be seen. But yeah, Toon, very eventful qualifying session. A few upsets actually, a few surprising qualifying results there. What are your thoughts ahead of this semi-final race?
I couldn't agree more. This was very unexpected. We had some traffic due to incidents through no fault of the drivers, of course. We had it go from day to dusk pretty quickly. The rain's now coming down. I noticed as Slipstream was starting his third lap, his fuel light was blinking. So these strategies are definitely going to be quite interesting to see. But luckily for our drivers, there are no required tires, and it's going to be just. I think we might see a one-stopper for all we know, barring any rain. But what do you think, TKs?
Well, before I get T-Case's thoughts in, I'll just quickly read out the classified qualifying results there. So pole position goes to Slipstream then with that 8-minute 19.8, just under 1/10 of a second separating him and Moose for the top two positions. 8-minute 19.906 for Moose. Then we got GLK Sneaky in P3. With Mullet, as I alluded to, getting caught up in that traffic, and he will be unhappy with that P4. I know that for certain, but we have got a long race ahead of us. MD Hop qualifies in P5. Then we've got PHG Salamander in P6. We've got the only British driver in this tournament in Spawn. He qualifies in P7. Then we've got Jezza or Jasa. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, but he qualifies in P8. P9 goes to Arrow US, and then top 10 and at the back of the grid is Island Grown, with it all to do from the back. But as I said, a long race ahead of us. Yeah, T-Case, what are your thoughts on qualifying and potentially what could happen for the race?
Well, typically in a qualifying, you see everybody on what is considered the fastest tire, the soft tire. But due to the nature of this track and how long it is and how long of an outlap it was, they were all on the medium. So, technically not on the fastest tire, but the fastest tire for this type of layout. So it was good on them for realizing that if they would have tried to qualify on that soft tire, they probably would have wound up with no grip there at the end, and coming into that heavy braking zone right there at the end of the long straight, you definitely want to have all that grip.
That is for sure. I've just literally looked at chat just now. It seems like, and I don't know YouTube that well, but it seems like there's been a 10 gifted from Fernando Button. So thank you very much for the kindness and all the support towards the McNulty channel and all of us staff in the background as well, including us commentators. Very, very kind. Enjoy your gifted subs to all that it is associated with, but absolute legend there, Fernando Button.
Could not agree. Thank you so much, Fernando. That was very generous of you. And now it is time we move on over to the proper race. Flawed, take her away.
Will do indeed. There we go. So, weather conditions looking a little bit better for the start of the race here at the Nürburgring 24-hour layout as we await the red lights to come down. And lights out, and away we go. And it looks like Slipstream got an excellent pull away from the start grid. Moose follows closely behind in P2. Now there's a three-way battle going into the turn. Mullet on the inside, getting a little bit squeezed on the entrance of the corner, but just staying in front of GLK Sneaky in P4 with MD Hop settling down into P5, but a very fast and frantic start from the top 5 drivers, and it looked like there was a tiny bit of contact, but MD Hop just pulls out of it for the time being, but certainly, as I alluded to earlier, that this Grand Prix circuit very important to try and get track position, because certainly for many parts of the Nordschleife very difficult to make passing opportunities. So this is where the drivers become a little bit more aggressive and try to make moves possible, but it's worth saying, or worth mentioning, there's a lot of drivers on different tyre strategies, as we're on board with Spawn at the moment. He's currently using the racing hard tyres, looking to chase down Salamander, who currently occupies P6 at the moment. Actually, there is a bit of a trainer cars, because Jezzo as well, just behind in P8 as well, looking to sweep up any given opportunities. So looking back on board with the front runners in Moose, finds himself in a very, very promising P2. He is 1.6 seconds behind Slipstream, who's looking to try and peel away. I'm not 100% sure what tyre Slipstream's on. Moose is using the racing hard tyres at the moment. Slipstream is actually on the medium tyres, so you would expect him to start pushing on forward. But yeah, certainly at the same time does need to try and conserve them tyres, because tyre wear is pretty extreme around this circuit. So we've got Mullet in P3 looking to start pushing now ahead of Sneaky in P4. There are a few gaps at the moment, but I know Mullet is extremely fast around this circuit. In fact, he quoted as saying this is one of his favourite circuits on the calendar, and we know he's a very fast driver. So if this is one of his better circuits, then we should be expecting some bold manoeuvres from Mullet throughout this race. But what are your thoughts, Toby?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Mullet already jumped all the way up to peak 3. He's got 4 laps of nonstop action ahead of him. And jumping back to the tires, I'm cycling through, only 3 drivers have jumped on the mediums, and that'd be Slipstream, Arrow, and Island, who also happens to have some rear bumper and rear quarter panel damage. So that's going to be a bit of an uphill battle, but I saw people jumping over to the hards at the end of qualifying. So it's amazing to see that nobody's touched the softs, and Moose actually did a little spot of rally crossing, but got back onto the circuit quite quickly, but now it's buying Mullet an opportunity to rapidly close the gap.
Yeah, can we have, well, actually, we've got a bit of a battle for P6 and 7, but we've also got a battle for P2 and P3, and as alluded to with Mullet, he has got the pace around here. Sneaky, though, showing good pace as well, and not letting Mullet out of his grasp at the moment, but Moose would have lost a little bit of time, cutting grass there, and giving him a little bit of dirty tyres, which would have lost him the initial grip. But it does look like at the moment Mullet, maybe he's looking to try and conserve the tyres and maybe start pushing on corners that he needs to push on, let's just say. But Moose went kind of a little bit out of shape on that exit, but nevertheless keeps it on the black stuff and fights to live another day for now. But yeah, certainly you can't really call this, guys. I can see that Sneaky is, you could almost say, being a little bit sneaky, because he is quietly going about his business at the moment, and currently 8 tenths behind, so barely a gap between Mullet and Sneaky, and will certainly pounce on any mistakes made in front of him. Sorry, go on, Toby.
Couldn't agree more. This race is just starting. It's 16 miles of twists and turns, ups and downs, undulations that can easily unsettle your car. TK, as you're cycling through the grid, what are you seeing through your analytical eyes?
I'm seeing that it's starting to split up into paths. You know, we got a nice little battle between fifth and second, and then there's a little bit of a gap, and then we have a good battle going eighth through sixth as they're going through the carousel right now. And in this, these drivers have to be patient. This isn't a track with a ton of overtaking opportunities. So I think we're going to see a lot of single file for a while. And then as soon as we get to a point where there's a good overtaking opportunity, we'll see some aggression come out. But a lot of these drivers just need to be patient. And as frustrating as it is as a racer to just follow behind somebody, they're going to need to follow behind somebody. But it looks like we might get an overtake in P7 and P6 between Spawn and Salamander.
Indeed,
It does appear to look that way.
It does.
Also, Flot, I'd like to make note that the clouds are now rolling in. So when you were running with the rain on, how'd this shape out for you in your lap?
Yeah, well, as we see, Spawn was looking to make a move on Salamander. Salamander firmly closed the door on Spawn. Probably not the best place to make a move, but just to answer your question there, around what is a very long circuit, quite often you can find it where it's raining on one part of the circuit and then it's dry on the other part of the circuit. But certainly downpours can happen in an instant around here, and certainly that's what happened in my race the other day. The drivers will be, not only Spawn nearly went a little bit deep and off the circuit there, just kept it on the black stuff for the time being. You can see Jezza has actually got good control in his car, but Spawn not getting the best of exits though. Not getting the best of exits, but Spawn will hold off Jezza for the time being. We've got a very long back straight to come, so this is where Jezza perhaps playing the long game here, actually going to tuck in behind Spawn, use his slipstream, and then try and power past him by the time we get to the end of the straight here. But Jezza, of course, Spawn has got the slipstream to Salamander, so there's almost like a double slipstream effect. We're on board with Jezza now as he is closing in on Spawn, and just going alongside Spawn right now. It surely will make the move stick and get in front of Spawn before we go down the hill now, and he'll be looking to maybe grasp the slipstream from Salamander. Spawn does nearly too late on the brakes on Jezza, and nearly into the back of Salamander. Luckily just about got on the anchors quick enough before calamity or chaos was going to happen. But for now, nothing to really report apart from Spawn going into the pits. Oh yes,
MD Hop just putting the move on Sneaky, but I don't know if he's going to get it done.
I don't think he will for the time being. So Sneaky will have the inside line for this corner, but that is followed by a right-hander Sneaky actually got the overspeed there and holds on to that P4 ahead of MD Hop for the time being. There is also a battle between Moose and Mullet as well for the fight for P2, and it looked like Moose went a little bit deep through the hairpin there, but holds off Mullet for the time being as we go through the Schumacher S, and certainly not an opportunity there for Mullet to go for. Mullet biding his time for the time being and hoping that he can apply some sort of pressure to Moose to maybe force a mistake from him. But you could see that the clouds were coming over, just answering your question there, Toon. But also, it's starting to get dark as well. So again, this we already noticed in qualifying that the poor visibility going into the Nordschleife can be very hazardous for the drivers. And certainly these drivers are going to have to be very careful and maybe use that as a lesson in qualifying to take into the race and not make these mistakes. Of course, full damage is on as well, so really could turn the race on its head should you make that one mistake. So we're also worth mentioning as well that both Moose and Mullet are closing the gap to Slipstream in P1. So certainly Moose with phenomenal pace right now, holding off Mullet all over the back of him, but Moose actually pushing to the absolute maximum. And actually, if they work in tandem, as Moose actually lets Mullet through there into P2, perhaps a very wise decision there for Moose. Maybe recognise that Mullet had more pace there and looking to maybe just follow Mullet through the darkness, because I'm pretty sure in the next minute or two it is going to be pitch black for the drivers, and that could be a very wise and albeit sneaky decision from Moose to actually have someone to follow in the darkness. What's your thoughts too?
Oh, no, it's a very good point you made. And I noticed when Mullet was overtaking Moose, Moose actually turned on his right turn signal to say, hey, overtake me, you're faster. So this is going to be a calculated move by Moose, because him and Mullet working in cooperation have just closed that gap even further to Slipstream. And as I'm going through the field, it looks like Sneaky and MD Hop are also working in tandem as well, as to avoid any increases to the race lead. And just cycling through, yeah, it's very interesting to see. I also see that Spawn has jumped over to the racing medium tires, and he also topped up on fuel while he was in the pits. So you got to keep an eye out for Spawn. He might be able to use it as an opportunity to maybe walk his way up to a podium position, barring any rain. But the weather is definitely subject to what the drivers see with that weather radar. TKs?
Yeah, so I'm a little confused at what Spawn did by boxing and filling up and switching to the mediums. Maybe he wasn't happy with how the hard tires were performing, but it's looking like they basically have about 2 laps of fuel, unless they start doing some serious fuel saving. I expect everyone to come in at the end of this lap to refuel. So with Spawn pitting at the end of lap 1, unless he's doing some serious fuel saving, I'm seeing him having to pit again for fuel before the end of the race. So I'm a little confused at what's going on there, but I do suspect to see everybody else dive into the pits at the end of this lap. Maybe the hard runners don't change tires, but we're definitely going to see some refueling.
Well, this is the gamble that the drivers have to think about, really, is they don't know when the rain is coming. We don't know when the rain is coming. So they can only really hazard the guess. Now, they do have a radar to look at, so maybe it might be showing some sort of information on, a rough prediction of where the rain is coming in. That's the only thing that I could think of why Spawn came in from one lap on the hards. Sorry, Tone, go on.
Well, Flawed, to add on to your point about people coming in and boxing, Island is going to have to box as well, because he has front left damage as well. His front left wheel and his back right wheel are shot. His front bumper and back bumper are shot. It's been a rough race for our P10s that are at the moment. So yeah, these pits are going to be absolutely pivotal for these drivers, and the question will be, will those drivers who sustain damage repair the damage, or will they carry on with it for the remainder of the race?
And it's also looking like these racing mediums only have 2 laps in them. I'm looking at the few drivers who started on the mediums, and they're getting close to the end of their life as well. So it's looking like maybe 2 laps on the mediums, and so depending on what the weather does, either they're planning on switching to some intermediates or wets, or they're gonna maybe switch to another pair of mediums.
Yeah, and this is, you two make a good point.
Actually, Sneaky has gone completely off, and MD Hop just sent it up because of it.
Can we get a camera on
GLP
P4 and 5?
Sneaky has just fallen down into P5.
Okay, we're going to stay on the battle between P1 and 2, because Mullet looking particularly strong right now. Has closed that gap down to nearly half a second then, as we come down the hill and through this I love this section of the circuit. It's completely flat out through here, and then down into fourth gear that Mullet is using. Yeah, Mullet looking extremely fast now as we approach the back end of lap 2. Slipstream, well, wouldn't have anticipated this kind of pressure at the moment, and actually Mullet in prime position here to make the overtake, because we're just going around the final sort of right-hander before the long straight. So perhaps Mullet has timed this to perfection, and certainly if he remains behind it before we start going up the uphill section, Slipstream will be a sitting duck here. And as we do go up the hill now, we'll see how much of a pull that Slipstream will provide Mullet. As yeah, in fact, look, before he even gets to the brow of the hill, pulls up alongside him and past Slipstream into the race lead then for Mullet. So after a difficult qualifying for him, finds himself in prime position right now, and will be interested to see what happens from here on in. Does he dive into the pitch? Yes, he does. From the race lead on the hard tyres, he had 18% of fuel remaining. Slipstream actually saved a bit of fuel, 28% for him. Moose on 13% and MD Hop 11% as we go on to the replay between P4 and P5. Sneaky and MD Hop, I believe. So just on board with Sneaky right now as he goes wide on that corner, and MD Hop goes up the inside into P4. Sneaky would have got he may have picked up a bit of damage there, although actually it looks, I don't know if it's been repaired or not, I'm not 100% sure, but he lost out on he didn't sustain any. Right, okay.
Slipstream comes out on the intermediates.
Okay, that's very interesting. So it does. It looks like the drivers, but of course, they've got the radar. Or you know, a lot of us haven't. So, so yeah, it looks like they can see something that we can't see, and maybe rain is on the horizon. So a lot of the drivers now going on to the intermediate tyres. Now they do have to be wary that at the moment the track is dry. So this will be burning them tyres right now. This is certainly not the optimal conditions for the intermediates or the wet tyres. So we'll see how much tyre degradation will be put on these tyres. But Slipstream manages to get in front of Mullet. Of course, he had a little bit more fuel, so spent a little bit less time. He goes a little bit wide though, and Mullet around the outside gets the overspeed. And Mullet actually sweeps in front of him as we go through the turn, and Mullet back up into the race lead through a bit of a mistake from Slipstream. It looks like Mullet knows how to drive on these intermediate tyres on a dry surface.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah, only a handful, only a couple drivers came out on the intermediates. Most have come back out on either the hards or the mediums.
Okay. Now that makes a lot of sense now. So, yeah. So Mullet is on the slick tyres. Slipstream is on the intermediate tyres. You can see the difference in times as Moose is looking now to close on in on Slipstream, because Moose is on the hard tyres. Spawn is on the medium tyres, up into P4 now. And there is Moose now up the inside. He's got the superior grip to Slipstream. Oh, Slipstream gone wide though. Was there contact between the pair of them?
It's hard telling, honestly. But as we go to the replay, we will get a better look.
So this is Slipstream Moose going on the ins. Or I mean, it was minimal. Obviously, Slipstream trying to give the space to Moose. It was the tiniest bit of contact. Don't know if that would have been enough for Slipstream to go wide. I do believe that Slipstream just didn't have the grip because he's on the intermediate tyres and slightly misread the amount of grip and the speed going into the turn perhaps. But very unlucky there for Slipstream, who is now down into P4, and you can already see the tyre degradation. Already had the tyre, as we just see the rain coming down. You can see the wipers now going off, so the rain is starting to fall. And is this a genius move from Slipstream? Because we can see it's a bit of a downpour right now, and you can see with the bottom left-hand corner by the tyres, that is the rain meter. Once it gets past the third of that bar, that will then be intermediate weather, and the slicks will be absolutely useless. And they are not even halfway through this lap at the moment, so maybe this was a really bad call from the slick runners. We will await and see what happens. Anything can happen around this circuit, and as I alluded to with the weather, that one part of the circuit could be raining, another part could be bone dry. So we'll see what happens here. Certainly a very strange place here in the mountains, in the hills of Germany. But on board with Sneaky at the moment, he is also on the intermediate tyres. You can see the wear on the rear tyres of Sneaky, not looking too great. He'll be praying for some heavy rain to fall down right now. Same with Slipstream as well, of course, just in front of him in P4. This is certainly going to be interesting as the heavens open up again. And look at the bar, guys. It's starting to enter the intermediate territory, and this is where you're going to see big differences in the grid in terms of speed. We'll have a look on board with Mullet at the moment, because he is 7.5 seconds ahead of Moose. At the moment, he's keeping it on the circuit, but if it rains anymore, he's really going to struggle here. And you can see it now. You can see it now in the darkness. He's keeping the revs down. I'm finding it hard to watch on his screen at the moment. I think he's on the straight at the moment, so he's just about getting away with it. But if it rains any further, it could be game over for him. This race is on a knife edge, and I can't wait to find out too.
I can't wait to see either. I'm watching from Sneaky's perspective. Slipstream's kicking up a ton of water right now. Looks like the intermediate drivers are going to have a slight advantage as I'm cycling through the grid. And Moose is off and into the grass, but just got back on track, but has sustained some damage. He's still in P2, though, for the time being.
And Sneaky was looking to make a move on Slipstream in the wet there. That would have been very dangerous. Slipstream just held off Sneaky for the time being. Of course, these two on the intermediates. But you can see, look at the tyre wear of Sneaky's rear tyres there.
Sorry to cut you off, Vlad. Moose is struggling right now. Spawn is trying to take him. Actually, Spawn slowed down like crazy, too. Yeah, I think these guys are starting to wish they had jumped onto possibly the intermediates, because they're doing a very delicate dance around the carousel, and I don't even know how to make heads or tails of this.
Yeah, and Moose had front bumper damage as well, so that will be slowing him down even further. This race now really turning on its head, as you can see Spawn really struggling there. We've got Slipstream just in front of Sneaky at the moment. There's literally nowhere for Sneaky to go at this point in time. It's Moose. You can see him wiggling all over the track at the moment. Moose really struggling for traction and loses 3 positions in one corner. Just trying to keep it on the circuit and bring it back to the pit so we can maybe change the tyres. We'll see how the rain develops here, because certainly Mullet going wide. Mullet going wide from the race lead as well. He's really struggling to keep the car on the circuit as we go through the windy parts of this section of the track. Spawn closing in on Mullet as well. Oh my God, it's really closing up now. And
these intermediate guys have to get by. They have to get by right now, because everybody's going to have to box at the end of this lap.
Down to P5.
No, it was Spawn. It was Spawn that went wide. Moose went past. They're Sneaky and Slipstream, desperately trying to get past Mullet. Mullet will know here that he really needs to hold these off as much as possible. And Sneaky goes up the outside, around the outside, should I say, of Mullet. Mullet just parking his car in front of Moose. Slipstream. This is really hurting Slipstream right now because Slipstream is in P4, and look at Sneaky. Sneaky just accelerating away now. Oh, big contact between Slipstream, Moose, and onto Mullet as well. P2 as well. It's all kicking off right now. Slipstream desperately trying to fight his way through. His Moose goes wide onto the curb and slows right down. And MD Hoppy looked like had a bit of a heavy moment at Spawn. Goes into the barrier, isn't it? Was it Spawn?
Yeah, it was Spawn. Spawn is in the barrier, and Jesser's just flown by him, followed by Salamander. Let's get a look at what just happened.
Yeah, so cars left and right just going off, and it catches a puddle and spins out into the barrier. He would have picked up a fair bit of damage there. And Jesus Christ, I don't know what to say here, guys. It literally everywhere you look, something is going on. What I will say is Slipstream did manage to get past Mullet, and we are down the back straight at the moment. Sneaky has pulled a 2.4 second lead over Slipstream in P1, over Slipstream P2, sorry. Mullet not too far behind, just outside the Slipstream range. I wonder, guys, has the rain stopped here? Because it looks like it.
I think it has.
Yeah, the clouds have opened up. It's nothing but starry skies, and given all the carnage,
Moose is around.
and Moose is
in the
off.
background.
Ooh.
Yeah, slides, maybe got on the brakes a little bit too late. Slides into the barrier, and he's got big damage now. Big damage, surely. He goes sideways. Oh,
No.
hop over the guns.
Can we get a replay of that?
Wow. Hey, y'all, Sneaky just went into the pits and Slipstream stayed out.
Moose got
after
reset
that moment,
back
I
onto the
think-
track.
I think after that moment, Moose would be applying for a seat at NASA or something. I mean, that was quite a jump.
Flood, just a quick side note. Spawn and Moose both stopped dead in their tracks. Moose kept trying to go into the pits, and he's spinning around again and has even more damage. But every
There's
time Moose
all
was trying to
sorts
go
of
into
chaos.
every time Moose was trying to go into the pits, it would reset him back onto the track, and now Spawn sideways too, drifting. My lord, what in the green hell is going on here?
Jesser spun going into into turn one as well. Everybody was just skating across the start finish.
This
Well,
is
you got-
carnage left and right.
No,
I'm sorry, Flood,
that's
carry on.
Mullet. That's Mullet, isn't it? Mullet having a big moment as well.
Yep, Mullet has damage, Jesser has damage, Sneaky's walking unscathed on a fresh set of intermediate, Slipstream's unscathed at the moment.
And
It's like-
Jesser makes
is
the
it
move as
Salamander?
well.
It is really wet on the GP portion of this circuit. It is really wet.
It's going to and from at the moment. Jezza got past Mullet into P3, then went deep into the hairpin, and Mullet retakes P3. But looking at the replay of Moose, unbelievable stuff. Moose must be cursing his luck, I have to say, with the situation in this race. He was looking so good in P2, now finds himself in P7. There, we're on board with Mullet at the moment. You can see how slow he is going right now. Weirdly enough, finds himself still in P3 though, with Jezza in P4, MD Hop, there he is in P5 on the slick tyres, the racing hard tyres. He's also got damage as MD Hop slingshots his way past Jezza into P4 then, as we come to the back straight of the Grand Prix circuit. We're going to go back on board with Slipstream in the moment, who has developed an unassailable lead, and you could say 11 seconds over Sneaky. He goes a bit wide though, a little bit wide on the exit, maybe struggling a little bit on the high degradation of them intermediate tyres, and certainly on the outside of the circuit, a lot of standing water, and the drivers, regardless of what tyres they're on, do need to be very, very careful because their race can be thrown in an instant. But at the moment, Slipstream in the lead in front of Sneaky is down to about 9 seconds. Of course, we know Slipstream and Sneaky are the intermediate runners, but how is this going to fare? Because now it is night time, there is no rain, the track will be drying, but how much will the track be drying? Will it be drying enough to the point where it starts burning up them rear tyres even further? And will it be an absolute nightmare for these intermediate runners as opposed to the slick runners? We will have to wait and see. There is still a good portion of this last lap here at the Nürburgring 24-hour layout circuit in this semi-final race in Division A. But on board with Sneaky at the moment, you can see he has actually closed the gap to Slipstream. And also, guys, I didn't say this. This Sneaky obviously went into the pits to change his intermediate tyres.
He did. When we were watching that car fly through the air, Sneaky jumped into the pits, and I think it's his race to lose now. He's been closing that gap. At the start of this lap, it was a 15-second gap, and it's just closing with his fresh intermediate. So I think he made the right call. He was the only driver to do a second pit stop, and it's looking like it's paying off.
It does indeed look like it's paying off. As sorry to cut you off, Vlad. It does look like the nightmare's almost over as the sun is rising on the Nürburgring 24-hour layout. And it looks like the track's also starting to dry as well. So I think this might afford some of the drivers on the racing slicks an opportunity to make up for some lost time. Back to you, Vlad.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing, to be honest. This is a whole different dynamic to the race now because, yes, certainly this is where it starts coming into play for the slick runners, because you can see now that if the drivers do avoid the curves and the width of the circuit, actually the slick runners will be a lot quicker. Plus, the tyres will be burning and screaming for their lives. As we look on Slipstream now with his tyres, you can see with the bar as well that it's definitely in that slick territory now. So Slipstream, if I was him, I would be trying to find any puddle that you can find to try and keep the temperature of them tyres cool enough to save the grip as much as possible. But at the moment...
Sorry to cut you off, Vlad. Mullet is having a battle right now with MD Hop, but it turned into a little bit of carnage as they bumped into each other and Mullet hit the wall. This is definitely getting make or break time for these drivers.
Yeah, definitely getting a little bit spicy here, as you alluded to. MD Hop moving up to P3. It looks like, let's have a look then on the replay. So Mullet all over the back of MD Hop here now, actually. So it looks like MD Hop already made the move, but Mullet came challenging back. MD Hop looking to squeeze him, and he may have squeezed him a little bit too much because, yeah, big contact between MD Hop and Mullet. Looked like he squeezed him a little bit too much and put him onto the curb, but then MD Hop went a bit too deep into the corner and pushed Mullet into the side wall, and is holding off Mullet as well in P3, so maybe something that the stewards may need to have a look at. But of course, MD Hop looking over his shoulder in terms of the championship, because he needs a really good result here to qualify for the finals, the top 14 position, of course. Is that going to hurt his chances of getting through? Who knows? But we do ride on board with GLK Sneaky in P2. He has really closed that gap now to Slipstream. You can see the difference in the tyre wear, although in saying that this is his first lap on the intermediates, you can see how much degradation there are to that rear tyre, but Slipstream must be really struggling at this stage. Yeah, he's come down to less than a second now as Sneaky gets a good exit out of that turn, and Slipstream really struggling to turn the car now and keep it facing forwards as well. Sneaky, we'll see what happens here. Can he sneak one up on the inside or not? Look at the gap come tumbling down and closing in on Slipstream there. It's only a matter of time, surely, that Sneaky is going to make the move here and grab that race lead from Slipstream as we look on board on the back. But, there looked like a little bit of contact. There might be netcode, I'm not sure. but certainly very intense as we get to the latter part of the race. Is Sneaky looks to go around the outside. I don't think he's going to make a stick for the time being. Slipstream around the carousel there. It takes the inside line, but of course he will be a sitting duck here as we do approach the back straight, which I believe is over a mile long here. So Sneaky in a very, very good position as... Oh, actually, okay, bump draft on Slipstream, because maybe got too much of a good run on Slipstream, which is a very strategic and clever ploy to now make the move now as he switches over to the right-hand side. He's got the overspeed as we go up the hill, and Slipstream will consolidate in P2. Can he get back into the Slipstream and re-overtake Sneaky? They are almost side by side as we approach the brow of the hill, but there is Sneaky sweeping in front of him now. I mean, it's going to take a very bold move if Slipstream can get past Sneaky. Sneaky really needs this race win here to finally secure his top 14 position. Gets a really good run out of the final corner, and Sneaky will win the Division A Saturday heat. Congratulations to the Canadian driver on the race victory ahead of Slipstream, who gets P2. MD Hop is still in front of GSR Iron Mullet, but Iron Mullet's got the run on MD Hop as MD Hop tries to squeeze him on the wet line here. Very controversial, to be honest, but at the moment they are side by side. Mullet decided to peel back into the slipstream of MD Hop and maybe go for a bold move, but there's MD Hop swerving from left to right, really not giving Mullet a chance to get through. There's a slight bit of contact as well as we go through the braking zone. Mullet too deep on the brakes into the wall, and that was his opportunity there. Couldn't quite make his stick, and a little bit too brave there as MD Hop does come across the start-finish line to claim P3. Mullet will get P4, but I think there may be words between the two. I'm not 100% sure. Jezza will grab P5 as he spins. He gets onto the wet stuff. He spins as we come across the start-finish line. He's so lucky there. Grabs P5 ahead of Salamander in P6, and Moose will grab P7 with Arrow closely behind in P8. Now we got Island Grown. I think he's just exiting the... No, he's not. Sorry. He's before the start-finish line. In fact, I don't think he's got enough time to get across the line, has he? We got 30 seconds left and counting. So it looks like Island Grown will grab P9 and spawn P10 unless Island Grown has a catastrophic moment in the final 15 seconds here. But wow.
Well, Spawn is out of fuel, so I don't think Island has anything to worry about.
Okay, fair enough then. Fair enough. But
guys,
is. Just your thoughts on this race then, because I'm absolutely blown away too.
This was a race, I gotta say, riddled in controversy towards the end. The stewards definitely have the work cut out for them. I can't make heads or tails of this. We saw an NRL tradition, a driver catching some air. We saw resets in some odd positions. My lord, I'll have to try and formulate what to say while you go through these results, because I'm speechless.
Indeed. I'll give you the classified results, but obviously a lot to talk through, and I'm sure the stewards will carefully go through all the racing incidents that we saw throughout this race. But for the time being, these are the results from Saturday's semi-final Division A. So GLK Sneaky grabs the race win with a fantastic result for him, ahead of Slipstream by just 1.4 seconds was the difference between the front two. But Slipstream does grab the fastest lap time with a 9 minute and 18.4. Again, MD Hop finishes in front of Iron Mullet. A bit of controversy between the pair of them. I'm sure they are having some harsh words between them probably, but MD Hop for the time being has the last step on the podium in P3. Iron Mullet, as alluded to, P4. Then we got Jezza in P5 just in front of Salamander, who grabbed P6, who just at the finish line, actually finished in front of Moose in P7. Actually, Jezza had the spin, wasn't it, and nearly didn't grab that P5. So I don't know if he over predicted the where the puddle was, but certainly, yeah, that was a moment for sure. So yeah, Salamander P6, Moose P7, Arrow P8, and then Island Grown gets P9 and Spawn in P10, and we'll see a little bit later on how that is going to affect the standings for Division A, because I literally cannot call it from here. TK, sorry, what are your thoughts on this race? I mean, I don't know where to start, to be honest.
I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. We had different tire strategies, different pit strategies, and it rarely happens that the two stop is faster than the one stop. And I love the risk Sneaky took by taking that extra pit stop. Seeing the strategies play out, seeing two different strategies end right there at the end, neck and neck down the back straight there is just, it's great racing. I love it. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was fantastic at the end of the day. It's so hard. That's why the Nürburgring is called the Green Hell. Like, things like this can happen. The two-stop strategy was definitely the right play by Sneaky to overtake and secure a race victory. The puddles were there long after the clouds cleared up and the sun had started rising. I don't know. Flood, we had arguably the most intense and chaotic race in the NRL to my recollection. This has been historic for one reason or another. But as we shift our focus from the race, we will move on over to the interviews, and we will start with MD Hop. MD Hop, how are you feeling? That was a crazy race you just had.
That was insane, to say the least. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, not in the strategy to stay in a torrential downpour on the hards. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, so obviously the 2 weeks of practice was very much needed for a circuit of this caliber. How much time did you spend practicing different strategies, and primarily, how much time did you spend trying to practice in the wet?
So I would say I spent about. I'm not gonna lie, I spent about 2 days in the wet. Like once I learned track, I got track evolution down, slapping on inters and doing a full lap. I was like, okay, cool, manageable pace. Moved on, and then I really focused on race pace, using between the mediums and the hards, what's actually going to play out. Using the correlating with the temperature of the track, how long the tires would actually last on the mediums versus the hards. Was the pace advantage worth it? Could I, you know what I mean? I was trying to find that happy medium to where my overall race pace was collectively faster, or I'm saying better. But yeah, no, I'm sorry, I'm just still a little flustered because that last lap was bananas.
Oh, absolutely. It had to have been even more intense for you guys in the cars. But Flood, any questions?
Yeah, certainly a few. Congratulations, Eddie Hop on P3 there. I mean, what a fantastic and, yeah, you could say crazy ending to the race. For us in commentary, we don't have the ability to look at the weather radar. So, what was your emotions when it came to seeing the weather radar and trying to predict when the rain was going to come in, because it seemed like it really divided amongst the drivers. So what was your thoughts and how it panned out for you in the end?
What I was thinking that I should have done. So it was funny, right? So end of lap 2, I anticipated, like, I actually thought the rain wasn't even going to come. If I'm being honest, I was looking at the weather radar and I was like, okay. maybe the rain isn't coming, question mark. So as I pulled into the pits, I made the judgment call of, I hovered over the intermediates or the hards. And I just tapped the hards. And I was like, as I hit it, I thought that was a mistake. And turns out that ended up being not the best tire to be on as soon as coming out of the pits. Because essentially you could have made the intermediate survive. And I'm assuming that's what Sneaky did. Because I got up alongside him, and that's why I started to spiral a little bit when I saw the green marking on the side of his tires. I was like, he's on inters. I'm screwed. He's on inters. It's done for. I actually thought my race was toast. I didn't think I was going to be able to survive.
Well, to be honest, the way it panned out was Sneaky actually pitted for fresh intermediates on the last lap, and it was Slipstream that stayed out on the old intermediates. So, and there was 1.4 seconds between them two. So,
wow, what a holy Christ! I did not know. Yeah, I didn't know that, and yeah, no, it was. Again, I was starting to spiral as soon as that started to happen, and then. Coming down the straightaway on lap 3 where everyone was getting collected, I was like, oh, so everyone's had a hard time stopping. So I tried to stop at like the 100-foot board, and I just slid straight into the kitty litter.
Yeah, it looked pretty much impossible to control that car, to be honest. I'm guessing all the assists was on full traction control and stability and all that. Yeah,
slammed a 5, and I was crossing my fingers on the steering wheel.
Well, congratulations on P3. As I said, it was a fantastic viewing. I
definitely want to say just right now, like our collision, I know that me and Mullet got together, I think twice, and I just didn't see him. More or less, like where I was actually trying to find out where he was at. And I know we kind of came together about the halfway point of the race on lap 4, I believe. And I couldn't stop the car and I couldn't even turn. So we ended up kind of collecting each other. I heard him bounce and I was like, oh man, I felt terrible. And then coming down to the straightaway, going up that hill, I saw he was coming and I slowed down a little sooner because I knew he was coming in a little too hot. So we got a little close together and he kind of just came around me. So I tried to do the little switcheroo by breaking shorter so I can come underneath him. But that was that was a bananas finish that I did not expect.
Well, I just wanted to make one final question. Really, on that back straight on the last lap. Like how much did the wet line affect you? Because how it looked like was there was only really a very narrow lane, a very narrow dry lane, should I say, to really put the car in, and where Mullet perhaps wanted to make the overtake. Normally on the dry circuit, perhaps you would have been a sitting duck, but because of the narrow dry lane, there was only a tiny gap. Perhaps maybe he could have made the move, but then maybe half the car would be on the wet line. So how tricky was it to drive away from the dry line?
Oh, it was next to impossible. I was literally sawing the wheel the entire time, trying to stay away. Because like even if I was on the dry line, the car still wasn't sticking. Like TCS was kicking in the entire time. I was really being real gentle with the throttle inputs, real gentle with the brake. I know, like, I'm sure everyone's last lap, like total lap time that last lap time was so slow, and I was literally just babying the car. I was just trying to make sure I didn't come off the track, especially in that final section right before you get up to that second carousel. I was really focused on trying to stay on the racing line and also give it half to quarter throttle just to keep the car on the track. And that was just kind of the primary focus at that point, was just not more or less try and find the dry line, but just keep the car alive.
Yeah. Well, fantastic job from you. One of the most entertaining races I've seen for a very, very long time. So congratulations. T. Casey, have you got any questions?
Just a quick one, and congratulations. I mean, that was a great race to be able to finish on the podium with the slick tires on. Kudos to you, man. That was awesome. I had a question though for qualifying. where were you expecting to finish? Because I believe you did run into some traffic on your hot lap, which got you to qualify back in fifth.
Well, my
Where were you expecting to finish, and what kind of traffic did you run into?
my fastest consistent lap time on a hot lap was a 8:13 and 8:12. So, and I knew that was producible consistently.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was aiming for, and it looked like ended up 8:19 was the fastest lap time. So I was I was incredibly frustrated at that. I knew I got hung up in traffic, and that's racing, so I'm not gonna blame it on that. It is what it is. I felt like I kind of navigated the first part where Mullet and Island kind of got collected right before Carousel 1.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to just thread the needle, thankfully. But then coming up that hill, just car said I don't want to have traction anymore and gave out because I was not running any TCS because
Mm-hmm.
I knew that obviously I would produce the fastest lap with no traction control, as minimal aids as possible. And I had actually not even spun out there before, and I've had that happen throughout my hot lap practices, is where the car would just kind of give up on the grip. And thankfully, I actually have a shifter, so I was able to slam the car down into gears, like a not just the paddles, but I literally have a stick
Mm-hmm.
shifter, and it works,
Nice.
and I can go from fifth to first in an instant instead of slap, 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 slap. So that
Oh,
really
that's
saved me from
awesome.
collecting into the barrier. I don't practice that. That just happened. My brain just instinctively slammed the car into first to keep it out of the barrier. It was nuts. But
Well
and
done.
I can't even believe I still did a 25 with even completely spinning and coming almost to a stop. Then I saw Muller pass me, and I was like, I was so upset. But I knew that if I didn't spin, I could have. I had a very high likelihood of being on pole, just on my
Mm-hmm.
interpretation of my pace.
Very, very cool. I mean, well done. I mean, great recovery. You still got in a solid lap, and you did a great job, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations indeed, and thank you so much for your time. We'll get out of your hair so you can go and decompress after a bananas race, and we'll see what the future has in store for you after everything's been calculated and the finals have been revealed. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. Thanks to McNaughty and all the league and everyone. That was awesome.
Alrighty, everyone. Please sit tight. Feel free to go grab yourself a beverage, something to eat. Hit the restroom if you need to while we take a brief interlude. And when we come back, we'll come back at you with the provisional standings for Division A. And we'll also let you all in on what the finals race will be next week. So sit tight.
Welcome back to the conclusion of the semi-final NRL Season 3 and the moment you've all been waiting for, the provisional standings of Division A with the top 14 going into the final. I will say at this moment though, as things could change should there be any steward inquiries from both Friday and Saturday's races. I certainly think there will be a few going into tonight's Division A race, that is for sure. But let's have a look at the bottom of the Division A standings. Starting off in 32nd, we've got VTX Chippy on no points. Then we got Shadow Chef in P31 with 14 points. Chief Apollo tied with VTX Jake on 17 points in P29. P28 is Raider on 20 points with a tie for 26th position in Hiddy and Sweet Lou Sanus on 25 points. Then in P25, we've got VTX Scar on 26 points. P24 is Fernando Button on 29 points. P23 is Sugar Shuffles on 35 points. Sparky is in P22 on 37 points. Then we got Root in P21 on 44 points. Arrow occupies the top 20 with 51 points, and then MK in 19th with 52 points. So that means at the top, and do remember, take this with a pinch of salt, because again, this could look very different in a couple of days once all the stewards' inquiries has been dealt with. But as it stands at the moment, leading the pile is GSR La Cabra with 106 points, 10 points in front of GSR I'm Mullet in P2 with 96 points. Then we've got a tie for P3 in Gran Turismo and PHG Salamander with 93 points apiece. Then we've got Slipstream in P5 with 90 points, and then a tie for P6 between the Truth Serum and VTX Blindman GT. Both have 87 points. Then we've got GSR Shaggy Doo in P8, 85 points for him. Talon is in P9 with 81 points, just 1 point ahead of MD Hop, who occupies the top 10 position with 80 points. GLK Sneaky is 11th with 78 points. Then we got MMR Moose in 12th on 75 points. Jezza in P13 on 71 points. Deputy Fishtail at the moment has the key position, P14, 65 points for him. But don't discount the drivers just behind in Spawn, P15, 61 points for him. P16, Boogedy with 56 points. Island Grown in P17 with 55 points, and Corridor in P18 with 54 points. As I said, it may take a bit of time to get through all the racing incidents, and those that are near the sort of top 14, don't discount that things could change. Maybe they're in the top 14 now, they might not be in a couple of days' time. So we'll see. But congratulations for those that have made it for the final. And certainly, we do need to have a look at what is coming up for the final for both Division B and A. But we'll start off with Division B, I believe. So, I recognise that track. Yes, we are at the St. Croix C Reverse Circuit. It's actually a timed race as well, 1 hour race. Grid is set by the championship order. The drivers will be using the Toyota GR010 Hybrid Group 1 car, and the race start will be a rolling start. BOP will be enabled with brake balance allowed. Mechanical damage always set to light for the Division B races. Tyre wear is ×5 with a fuel consumption rate of ×2, and all racing compounds will be available for the drivers, so hards, mediums and softs, and no tyre mandatory. So it's going to be very interesting to know what type of strategies the drivers will use. But very interesting race here, Toon. I never seen Group 1s around this circuit, so what's your thoughts?
I haven't seen Group 1s around this circuit either, but I do know that GR10 Hybrid, it makes everything come at you very, very quickly. So it's going to be a test of throttle control and reflexes for these drivers. But a 1 hour endurance is also standard practice for the NRL, and I love to see that it is back for season 3, and I hope it will remain a staple for many more seasons to come. What do you think about this combination, TKs?
Well, I'm not super familiar with this track. I am familiar with the car, but from what I do remember about this track, it kind of has everything. You have some S's, you have some rounded out corners, and then you have some like complete right angle corners. So it'll be interesting to see how the drivers are going to make the tires work, what kind of strategies we're going to see, and what kind of wheel-to-wheel racing we're going to get in these incredibly fast cars.
Oh, without a doubt. Oh, go ahead, Flood.
Sorry, no, I was just about to say, indeed, yeah, it's certainly with an hour race as well. Obviously, it's a little bit more of a different dynamic, because normally you have a set amount of laps. This time you're working against the clock, so they really will need to work out their strategies accordingly, as well as the fuel as well. That is a very important part of it. What I will say is, with this circuit though, there's a lot of straights, a lot of big braking zones, so a lot of overtaking opportunities, and certainly the hybrid car as well could pay dividend depending on the levels of hybrid each driver has at a given opportunity. But yeah, fascinating Division B race. We do need to have a look and see what is for the finalists for Division A.
This one's going to be a good one.
Indeed, I can already see in the background Spa 24-hour layout. Again, 1 hour race. Qualifying will be the grid will be set by the championship order again. We're in the F1 500 TA Formula cars. I believe I need the Ayrton Senna car, isn't it? It's based off of him, isn't it? So it's the 1980s era car. I mean, these cars are absolute monsters, but with the turbo lag, can be a bit of a handful as well. The tyres available are all the racing compounds, including the intermediates and the wet. So we'll see if rain is on the horizon at Spa. Stranger things have happened. The grid start is, the start type is a grid start with a full start check. BOP is on, brake balance is available, partial suspension allowed. That is very interesting. Mechanical damage set to heavy as per every Division A race, with tyre wear rate at ×6 and fuel consumption rate at ×2. Also, the tyres, no tyre is mandatory, so they can pick and choose what they do on their strategy. But Toon, what are your thoughts?
Well, I've actually, just for my own curiosity, messed around with this car and track combination in the past. And I also decided to try this circuit at night. And for those of you that watch the 24 hours of this illustrious circuit in real life, you'll know that this is not a lit circuit. And this car does not have any lights. Will we see this race go into the night? I have no idea. Probably not, but always expect the worst. And this car and this circuit do not agree with each other most of the time, but with a good amount of practice, you can definitely do some astounding things in it. What do you think of this combination, TKs?
I love it. I am jealous that I am not going to be doing this race. I enjoy doing this, using this car. It's a handful. I imagine most people are going to be using some form of traction control, because it is a big handful. But Spa is one of the greatest tracks of all time. It is so much fun. It has a variety of things. Eau Rouge, taking Eau Rouge flat out is one of the best feelings. And I can't wait to see this race pan out. And also, this car is such a great opportunity for all of our talented livery designers to make some really, really cool, maybe throwback F1 NRL liveries.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. That is for sure. Just in relation to what you said, Toon, I pretty much doubt there will be nighttime racing because I do believe these cars do not have headlights. So unless they have brought along their night vision goggles or something, it probably won't happen. But yeah, very fascinating race, and really can't wait for this, which will be coming up next week on Saturday. That is as well. So same time as the Division A Saturdays. This time now it'll be the final 14 for both Division A and Division B. So yeah, Saturday 2nd of March at 1 p.m. Eastern Time or 6 p.m. GMT UK time, which is for me. And also as well, all 6 commentators, I believe, will be available for this one, including Rob G. Barker, that wasn't present this week. I mean, I think it is to be confirmed, but I'm sure I think it's along them lines. Is it too?
It'll be a guessing game for the time being, but either way, the commentary will be there for this monumental race. Everybody's going to be on their A game. Us up here in the commentary booth, those in production, the stewards, the drivers. It's going to be 110% from start to finish, and we can't wait to see what the future has in store for all of us here. But yeah, the 2nd of March, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. GMT. Please make appropriate time conversions for your local time zones. And yeah, back to you, Flood.
Yeah, he says that as Floyd gets axed from the lineup of commentators. But guys, I can't wait for next week. It's going to be a grand finale to bear witness. It's going to be very, very exciting. So yeah, hopefully I will be there, but we'll see. Finally, guys, I just need to quickly ask driver of the day, actually, because I mean, I don't know, I wouldn't know where to call it. Certainly, especially the last race of Division A. It's just so many incidents, there's so many racing action. I wouldn't know where to start. But Toon, it'd be nice to hear your thoughts, though.
I gotta give it to Sneaky. Sneaky played it smart with doing another stint on those intermediates. Had the overall foresight to know that the track was still going to be quite wet, surprisingly, for the remainder of the race, and was able to kind of just swoop in and take P1 off of Slipstream's hands. Yeah, it's got to go to him. What about you, TK?
Well, yeah, I agree 100%. Division A, Sneaky all the way for me. It was genius. As soon as he went into those pits, it all made sense. At first, I was like, "What is he doing?" And then it was like, "Oh, I see what you did there." And we all saw it play out. But I do want to point out in Division B, I was super impressed with Fenrir, aka Viking. I mean, starting P9 and working his way back up to 4th and fighting for a podium there at the very end. So I was really impressed with that performance in our first race today.
I think, to be honest, right, I agree with what you just mentioned with the drivers. I have to say a special mention to actually PHG Dagger. I really, I know that he's a very good driver, but I didn't expect him to finish where he did. Got an excellent P2. And he, for me, is the driver of the day because I'm sure we haven't mentioned him too often in this season. But certainly, Great job by Sneaky. It was a genius strategy from him when it came to pitting on the last lap for them fresh intermediates. A lot of people probably would have picked the slick tires as well, but the fact that he went on the intermediates and carried that pace and managed to claw his way, claw the gap from what he lost back, and then overtake Slipstream at the end as well. I just thought it was fantastic from him. So, but this question, guys, I need to ask it actually because it's the only chance I'm ever going to be able to ask this question. Especially to you, Toon, actually. So you've watched all the races from Friday and been ever present in Saturday's races. So an early prediction of who you may feel could be crowned champion for both Division A and B.
That's a tricky one, especially because everything is subject to stewards' inquiries. If I had to wager a guess, though, from what we saw so far, for Division B, it's definitely a coin toss between Wicco and Papa. Papa has improved leaps and bounds this season, has pulled off some immeasurable feats, almost had pretty much a photo finish last night for Division B. Wicco has been dominant over here, but Dagger and Purple Nurple, as well as Speedy Lee, are all very strong contenders. So there might be a 5-way battle for the victory. Only time will tell. Over in Division A, though, La Cabra is insanely quick. Mullet's insanely quick. Moose is fast in his own right. We've got just so many talented drivers here that it's hard to really narrow down who my prediction would be until we have a more solidified standings for the finals. What about you, TK?
Yeah, I'm not even going to say any prediction. There's just too much on the line with various inquiries and different talents. We haven't seen these drivers drive together. We're taking two different pools and putting them together, and I'm just excited to see what's going to happen.
Rightfully so. That's actually probably the safest call. Flood, any thoughts?
My thoughts. Okay. Well, I think so. I have watched the races from Friday, but maybe I'm going to be a little bit biased in my decision with Division B. So Wicco, I just think has been absolutely dominant and hasn't put a wheel wrong. He has got a 100% record, 4 races, 4 wins. Maybe a little bit fortuitous because actually he got second, but then got overruled to a race win because of Chauncey's penalty. But nevertheless, that is his record: 4 wins from 4 races. So I just can't see him losing it. To be honest, I'm very, very confident in him. I know there's going to be controversy because I know there's a lot in chat probably saying a lot of other drivers, but yeah, that's my thoughts on Division B. In terms of Division A, yeah, there is a number of drivers that you could really pick out from. I have done a little bit of testing with Mullet and had a few sort of conversations with him. I've been extremely impressed with him. His pace is unbelievable, and the amount of testing and the amount of knowledge that guy's got in terms of all the sort of different race strategies and know-how, it's phenomenal. So I do feel like he's one of the favourites for me. And I believe.
Well, that is all very good to know and very insightful, Flawed. I am getting word from production, though, that we have a $5 donation from Redneck C137. I'm just not going to read that message out. That one's all him. But yeah, either way, only time will tell. But speaking of time, I think it is time that we bring this event to a close. Wouldn't you agree, Flawed?
I do indeed. I mean, I'm absolutely shattered, guys. It's been an absolute. Well, it's been an amazing semi-final. I think you'll all agree. It's just been incidents and driving action absolutely everywhere. And I can't wait for the finals, guys. It is going to be absolutely fantastic. But guys, if you want to check out our hosts, if you haven't already done so, do check out Toon. He is on YouTube and on Twitch, mainly on Twitch, isn't it, Toon?
Yeah, I like Twitch.
Definitely go check him out on both platforms anyway. Really deserves the love. Fantastic individual streamer. Highly recommended, as well as T-Case as well. I've got to check you out on YouTube as well, and definitely deserves all the love, so do check him out, T-Case 101 on YouTube. And then you've got myself as well. I also do streaming mostly on GT7 on Twitch, so Full Genius Gaming, if you would like to consider following. Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic today, and we're going to close this off and say a big thank you to everyone that have tuned in, all the drivers that gave us some amazing action today. Also, thank you to obviously everyone in the production background as well, all the hard work they do, as well as, of course, McNulty bringing this all together. We'll be back next week for the finals. That is 2nd of March. Please do tune in for then, 1 p.m. Eastern time or 6 p.m. UK time. So until then, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Take care and goodbye.